outdated kitchen with half-price Granite. For a limited time, half-price Granite is offering special pricing starting at $25 per square foot installed. That's lower than most big box stores. These prices are some of the lowest around. Granite, quartz, marble, and quartzite, all starting at $25 per square foot installed. Call 801-486-1700 or visit halfpricegranite.com. Half-price Granite, affordable luxury.
Time again for traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents a gallon. Michelle's back in the traffic center.
We have a couple of crashes, Tim. First is southbound on the I-215 westbound, about 700 north, backing up traffic. And the second is going to be in Sandy. This is 9400 south for drivers headed eastbound at 20th East. You will be forced to turn right or go south on Highland Drive. Hogle Zoo has so much to explore, and now there's even more to love. The all-new Elaine W. Skaggs Wild Utah exhibit and the Eccles exhibit train are now open at Hogle Zoo. Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today will be another hot day. We should hit 100 degrees or close to it. Things will begin to cool down on Saturday, but look what happens on Monday. We go from 100 to 77, and by Tuesday, 75 degrees, and believe it or not, we're even warmer than that downtown already. This hour, 79. From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, I'm Tim Hughes. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Well, it was just moments ago that Dave and I were just getting ready to run into studio here, and we got the alert that the Supreme Court of the United States is going to allow an abortion pill to stay on the market. This is a huge setback for those who have been campaigning to make abortions more difficult to obtain in the United States.
And essentially keeps things the way they were. It's 9:07. It's time for the launch.
Sequence engaged.
And here are 3 things that Debbie wants you to know.
Countdown. 3.
In our 10 o'clock hour, we're going to talk about this really big loss just moments ago for those who've been campaigning for many years. This has been going on. They've been trying to get this abortion pill off the market since about 2002, folks. So the Supreme Court of the United States just handed them a big loss. This is the most sought-after medication on the market for an abortion. It's a pill that is capable of inducing an abortion. Well, it won't be banned in the U.S.
And what surprises me, and we'll dive into more of the details here, is how often and how common this abortion pill is being used. It's the vast majority.
Countdown. 2.
This is not at all what I expected from Joe Biden's camp. Outpacing Donald Trump in fundraising in Utah. Trump has brought in about $750K from Utahns. For Biden, it's over $1 million. I think this is more proof that so many Utah Republicans, Dave, are just done with the state, and I'll even throw in the national party's antics, that they're clawing back financial support for Trump.
I think a lot of Utahns have a very complicated relationship with Donald Trump. He has not performed as well as you would think. As dominated as Utah is by the Republican Party, President Trump, the former president, has not enjoyed that rubber stamp on everything he does here in Utah. In fact, we just saw the one very good candidate here in Utah just called himself the anti-MAGA candidate. Is that the kiss of death here in Utah? Well, according to this, Debbie, no, it is not.
Launch. Countdown. 1.
Well, the Salt Lake City Planning Commission, which really is the first stop for approvals on the design plans for the blocks surrounding the Delta Center, gave it a big thumbs down. The downtown redo is a big no-go for the Planning Commission. They voted unanimously against the plan. All right, so let me use this analogy for you, Dave. Mom says you shouldn't marry that guy. Don't marry him. Don't marry him. But you're going to marry him anyways. I'm sorry to the Planning Commission for saying this, but your mom in this scenario The city council is going to ignore this recommendation, and in a shotgun wedding, they're going to marry Smith Entertainment Group, despite what Mom
It
says.
seems like we're being expected to act relatively suddenly on this and not really with the kinds of information that we need to make a responsible decision.
As I'm listening to that, it's exactly what it sounds like. I think we're rushing into this a little bit. I think we could re-examine just
Sorry,
a little.
Mom.
You're,
No, we're not.
You're trying
We're in
not
love.
to obliterate your future brother-in-law or your son-in-law, right? You're trying your best, but at the same time, I just can't fully endorse it. Well, guess what? This wedding is happening, folks. This wedding is happening, whether Mom likes it or not.
Dave and Dujanovic.
The launch.
Commence.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
And it's happening, Dave, because the legislature said it's going to happen. The legislature is the wedding officiant here.
They're the one with the
They've
power.
said it for months now, since earlier in the year when they stepped in and said, we're going to advocate for a plan and pass a plan and support a plan that allows for a slight sales tax increase in Salt Lake City to get this project done.
And typically you would want to trust Mom. Mom has your best interests at heart. I think the Planning Commission has the best interests of downtown Salt Lake at heart. I have no question about that. But at some point, being so conservative and so nervous about how quickly this has all come together, what's the alternative? Are we going to leave it the way it was? We have been wallowing for decades trying to figure out what's the best way to make downtown the place in Utah. And we haven't done a great job. This is a comprehensive plan that involves sports, entertainment, the arts, culture. You tell me, Planning Commission, what's your plan that involves all of that?
KSL News Radio's Adam Small has been tracking why Mom, the Planning Commission, is giving this a thumbs down. What can you tell us, Adam?
Well, I could tell you, Debbie, that as I was watching the meeting video last night, the overall sentiment, I'd say the most common concern I heard is how fast this is moving. I mean, we're talking sometimes and Carter Williams at KSL.com's been following this as well, and I read his reporting as well. They were talking about sometimes it can take years for certain zoning changes to be approved, and we just got an NHL team in April. We just had this bill passed in the legislative session in March. This is happening pretty quick, and that's what multiple commission members talked about, and the fact that we just got, one day ago now, the first little glimpse at what this revitalization district's even going to look like. And you've got planning commission members basically how tall are these buildings going to be? What's going to go where? They're a lot more used to, it sounds like, dealing with more set in stone plans, and they feel like they're looking at a start of a rough draft is kind of the best way I could describe it.
One of the things that stood out to me is what Planning Commissioner Richard Tuttle said.
But it seems like we're being expected to act relatively suddenly on this and not really with the kinds of information that we need to make a responsible decision.
And from the Smith Entertainment Group's own admission, they don't have everything lined up. They don't have everything planned. So what he's saying, they're admitting to this, but they say, what? We got to move forward anyway?
They have deadlines, don't they?
Well, yeah, and that's the
The
thing
city
is,
does.
the issue is the deadline, because under the bill that was passed in the legislative session, the city has to come to an agreement on this by September 1st. I think I read that the zoning approval could take maybe a little longer than that. I think they may have a little more flexibility. But, I mean, by September 1st, we really have to have a yes or no on, is this going to happen or not? And Richard Tuttle, I didn't pull the soundbite, but there was one point he was like, if this and I'm paraphrasing, I'm not quoting, basically, if this deadline's such a big deal, they can go down to Sandy and let them figure it out.
Can you go pull that soundbite
I
for
will
us?
find it for it.
Okay, Adam Small, KSL News Radio, running back to the newsroom. If you pull that soundbite for us and turn it around, Dave will buy you a big Diet Coke. Thank you so much, because we're going to take live phone calls next. So if we could get that on the air, I want to hear it live. KSL News Radio's Adam Small doing a fabulous job for us this morning, all morning long, breaking down why the Planning Commission has said it's a no-go. They're not into a shotgun wedding. I am. I'm into a shotgun wedding. Let's do it. Let's do this. Or should we go for the long engagement route? Should this be a 2 or 3 year long engagement with Smith Entertainment
Team
Group?
shotgun wedding? Is that what it is?
Yeah, we're going to
Is
take
it
calls.
Team long engagement, the 7-year engagement, whatever it might be, or team shotgun wedding?
801-575-TALK. 801-575-TALK. Is this happening too fast for you, or can you get on board with the shotgun wedding? Let's take your live calls next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
This is Jeff Stout with Fink and McGregor, Mortgages Made Simple. You may have heard that mortgage rates have come down over the last several months. While they are still higher than a few years ago, the change has brought some opportunities. Some simple math can help determine whether a refinance will be beneficial to you even with a higher rate than you currently have. This can happen when you knock off enough other high-interest debt to lower your overall payments. We can go over this with you to see if it makes sense for your situation. We are currently saving many clients several $100s per month in payments using this strategy. And if you refinance using an FHA or VA loan, you will be eligible for a streamlined refinance when rates come down further. That's a win-win. Call us today to see if this would benefit you. Fink and McGregor, Mortgages Made Simple, 801-264-9494. That's 264-9494. Or on the web at finkmcgregor.com. NMLS 289115.
Yes, it's hot. This level of heat normally doesn't make its yearly entrance for about another month.
But Utah's waterways are not a cool-down option.
Rescue teams have responded to multiple incidents along the Provo River.
Stay out of the water, period. There's no reason to go near it. There's no reason to go in it.
Stay safe, Utah, and stay here for updates on the early and short-lived June heat wave.
I drive with all my windows down.
Probably in the pool again.
Drink lots of water.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
My name is J.R. Bird. As mayor of Roosevelt, I increased transparency, led the charge to pass term limits, and kept taxes low. As your congressman, I will leverage my experience in the energy sector to champion energy independence and dominance. I'm determined to defend the unborn, secure our borders, uphold our Second Amendment rights, and bring the same level of transparency that we've upheld locally. I hope to earn your support.
Paid for by Bird for Congress.
At Common Spirit Health, we don't just see a cancer diagnosis. We see you, and you don't have to do this alone. We believe you should be surrounded by your people, so you can keep them close while you get care close to home. Supported by our care team from diagnosis to treatment and beyond, and strengthened by treatment tailored to you. Because there's no one-size-fits-all approach to cancer care. Find cancer care with human kindness close to you at mountain.commonspirit.org.
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Grainger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
As a roofer, spring means the start of my busy season, which means I've got to get organized. With help from Beacon, I can save time with Beacon Pro Plus and 24/7 access to live pricing, delivery tracking, order history, and more. Plus, this spring, I can earn $1,000 and the chance to win a $25,000 backyard renovation just by buying my CertainTeed shingles online with Beacon. No purchase necessary. Now that's what I call a spring cleanup. Visit BECN.com for official rules and to start earning entries.
You've been working so hard to keep your lawn and garden looking good. Maybe it's time to make your home look incredible with new window frames and double-pane glass from Advanced Window Products. If you can imagine it, they can create it at their factory in Salt Lake City. Any style, any color, security enhancements to keep your family safe. All this and factory direct pricing. You're buying local and paying less. So seal up your home and reap the energy savings with Advanced Window Products, where they've been creating windows for 38 years. No subcontractors, they're not resellers. They build the windows, they install the windows, and they guarantee them for life. And right now at their summer special, get an extra $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. They offer 0% financing and even buy now, pay later. Busy season's just hitting. Call now. Advanced Window Products, $2,500 off. But you have to call 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. Or go to advancedwindowsusa.com.
Encounter an out-of-this-world lunar landscape at Craters of the Moon during its 100th birthday celebration beginning in May. There's nothing like it on Earth. Learn more at visitidaho.org.
Dave, and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
Are you into a shotgun wedding, or do you want to be engaged for a long, long time before we redo downtown around the Delta Center? It just seems like there's a lot of opposition on the Planning Commission, the Salt Lake City Planning Commission, giving it a thumbs down. This is the first step. I think the Planning Commission is playing the role of mom here, and mom has said, oh, you shouldn't marry that guy. But ultimately, the Salt Lake City Council is like, yeah, we're going to get married. We're going to get married to Ryan Smith. So the City Council, Dave, I feel like they will ignore the Planning Commission's advice and be moving forward on this plan anyway. What are your thoughts?
I think you're absolutely right. I think they ignore all of mom's advice because look at what Salt Lake has done for decades. They have plans, and they've been trying to create a new State Street since the 60s. They've been trying, and they have plan after plan after plan. Do you know what has happened since the 1960s? None of these plans have come to fruition. Like, you guys
There's a new coffee bar there. What do you mean?
You've been engaged for so long. You never get married. You need to move on. And the new Brad Pitt walks in, and you're like, you know what? Pretty attractive. Maybe this one will work. And that's what they're doing. They're saying, I know it's an early relationship. It's fast. It's quick. We're making it happen. Shotgun wedding.
The reason we're taking your live phone calls is because we want you to weigh in at 801-575-TALK. Hold the line. Chris, you're first up here. You're the first guest at the wedding. But hold the line for just a moment, Chris, because I want to just bring our other listeners up to speed on this while we're talking about it, is that the Planning Commission, the Salt Lake City Planning Commission, has given a thumbs down, a negative recommendation to the new plan to redo that 2-block area by the Delta Center. And it's just met its first hurdle. This is really the first government hurdle that it's met. Because remember, this has the support of Utah's Capitol Hill. The mayor of Salt Lake City has seemed pretty excited about this as well. And ultimately, the Planning Commission is like mom. She can recommend, but you might not take her advice. Richard Tuttle, who's a planning commissioner, according to our own Adam Small just moments ago, telling us that he said some things that I think might be a little concerning in all of this. So Adam sent us the quote from what the planning commissioner said last night while making this vote.
I'm not so sure I care that much about the legislature's imposed deadline. If that's their deadline, take it to Sandy. Let Sandy deal with this.
They're going to marry Sandy?
That right there is such an eye-opening statement, because the Smith Entertainment Group, they keep saying, this is not a threat. This is not a threat. But they have said, we can build down in Sandy. We can. It's a blank slate. It's easily done. We already own property down there. This is the hovering over elephant in the room. This is the thing that Salt Lake is panicking about. They don't want to even whisper the word Sandy. And you've got a planning commissioner saying, let Sandy deal with this.
801-575-TALK. Good morning, Chris. How are you? Hi, Chris.
So I can understand both sides of the view, but I'm opposed to the shotgun approach to it, because having living in Daybreak and how quickly they're building out there, there's been a lot of mistakes with how they're building construction some of the homes out there. And having built a brand new home out there myself, we find mistakes in how quickly they built our own home. And that's what I'm fearful of when they're trying to push things through as quickly as they are now. And having worked in the construction industry as well, there could be a lot of mistakes made along the way as if they're moving things too quickly and realize, oh, we may need more money. Oh, we may need more land. Oh, we may X, Y, and Z. And it's going to end up costing the taxpayers more money down the road if they do a shotgun approach.
Thanks so much, Chris. Some of the proposal, we don't know a lot about the proposal, but some of this would include an underground road on 300 West. So that area outside the Delta Center would be a walkable plaza. We know there's been concerns about what would happen to a Bravenel Hall, which is where the Utah Symphony performs. We know that some of these plans, thanks to the reporting of our good friend and former colleague at KSL News Radio, KSL 5 Television's Lindsay Aerts, that there would be some chunks taken out of the Salt Palace where a huge number of conventions happen. So to your point, Chris, you do raise some good points, and I know there's some concerns about all of that, not only among planning commissioners, but also among some residents here in Salt Lake City.
The one thing that makes me feel a little bit better about this, Debbie, is this is not just government coming in and throwing their ideas out there. This is private business that has to invest, and they won't do it if it doesn't make sense. And what I mean by that is there's no incentive, if I'm the Smith Entertainment Group trying to bring people down and get them excited, to not present the best and put our best foot forward. You know, anything that is awkward or doesn't work or not beautiful, this is their job. If they don't do a good job with it, then people will stay away.
The Planning Commission in Salt Lake City has given this Delta Center and surrounding area, at least the initial phase of the redo in downtown, a thumbs down. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen, but that's their recommendation. 801-575-TALK. Rich, or let's go to Mike from Ogden. The big concern is that among the planning commissioners is this is happening too quick. Are you into a shotgun wedding, or you want to just date for a while?
Shotgun weddings ultimately don't work out. The Utah Jazz have had over 270 consecutive sellouts at the Delta Center. People know how to get there. They know where restaurants are. They come down early. They walk around. They park. And so they socialize. So we've been doing this for years and years, and so it's not like there's nobody coming to downtown Salt Lake and attending Jazz games. Okay. But we need to take a little bit longer view on how we proceed with this. We're doing this for the Olympics. We're doing this for the Sundance Film Festival. We're doing this for the huge conventions that come to town with thousands and thousands and thousands of attendees. And so we've got to make sure we do it right. We got to make sure we connect to the Gateway Center. We got to make sure we connect to Discovery Children's Museum and to the planetarium.
So it sounds like you want to get engaged and stay engaged for quite some time before the decision is actually made to head to the altar. Thanks so much, Mike. How about Rich and Harriman? What are you thinking about a shotgun wedding?
I'm totally against these shotgun weddings. They don't typically last for very long. And like your previous caller said, the Delta Center is quite successful with what it hosts there, and giving billionaires more incentives to make more billions for billionaires and making it sound like their altruism is what's at stake truly in downtown Salt Lake is just inauthentic, in my opinion.
Rich, thank you for the phone call. Just to be very clear, this is not fully funding in any stretch of the imagination the entire redevelopment plan here. They anticipate $3 to $4 billion to be spent, probably $3 billion of that in private money and investment. The state or the city's contribution is going to be somewhere around $900 million. So just to be very clear, this is not fully funding. This is certainly more of a subsidy.
Well, to me, the drop the mic moment from last night's meeting, which rarely happened, trust me, in planning commission meetings, is the moment that planning commissioner Richard Tuttle I laid down the dare. Like, they can take it to Sandy.
I'm not so sure I care that much about the legislature's imposed deadline. If that's their deadline, take it to Sandy. Let Sandy deal with this.
Careful what you wish for, downtown Salt Lake, because they will. They can pack up. They will take it down to Sandy, and all that money, all that redevelopment, all that investment that you're thinking is right there to be had, it evaporates. It's gone. So careful what you wish for, Mr. Tuttle.
Next, I did not expect this from Joe Biden's camp. He's outpacing Donald Trump in fundraising in Utah. It's $750K to over $1 million for Biden. I think there's more proof here that many Utah Republicans are so done with their state and national Republican Party antics that they're clawing back their financial support.
KSL News Time, 9:30. I'm Tim Hughes with a look at some of our top stories this half hour. President Joe Biden, as Debbie was just talking about, has raised more money in Utah for his campaign than former President Donald Trump. Federal Election Commission data shows Utahns gave Biden more than $1 million, but only $750,000 to Trump. KSL at Night host and political consultant Taylor Morgan, though, says that's because Biden and his wife have both been to Park City for fundraising events.
Despite the political support in Utah for former President Trump, there is a lot of money here to oppose Donald Trump as well.
Morgan does not think this is indicative of how Utahns will vote, however. He believes Trump will win Utah by 20 percentage points, just like he did in 2020. Opinions of the two presidential candidates have remained mostly unchanged since former President Donald Trump's felony convictions. A new poll from the Associated Press found that about 6 in 10 adults have an unfavorable opinion of him, and that's consistent with a survey conducted in February. Opinions on President Joe Biden, not too hot either. 6 in 10 adults also have unfavorable opinions of him. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The Supreme Court has preserved access to the abortion medication mifepristone. It was used in nearly 2/3 of all abortions in the U.S. last year. It's the court's first abortion decision since conservative justices overturned Roe v. Wade 2 years ago. Your money at this moment, the markets are mixed. The Dow still down 223 points. It finished off yesterday as well. The S&P basically flat. It's down less than 2 points, and the NASDAQ is in the green this hour by 42. Hot. No other way to put it in the forecast today, but it won't last long. There's some good news. We'll tell you what your weekend looks like next. KSL News Time, 9:32.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Hey, folks, let me tell you, I have loved Salt Lake City fat loss. It's been amazing for me. So many of us have struggled to lose weight. I mean, I've done it. I've tried to do it on my own. Research has shown when you try to do it on your own versus joining a program, you only lose about 1/10 of the weight on your own. And so I put it to the test. For the first time in my life, I joined a program, Salt Lake City Fat Loss. A couple things that they do that were very important to me. They did it without injections, no hormones, no surgery. And what I found is the results were amazing. This is very diet-based, healthy eating-based, and I lost 57 pounds in 60 days. And I feel great. I have to buy new clothes, which is a little surprising, maybe a little pricey, but man, I am so happy to buy those new clothes because, yeah, that's a lot of weight. It's kept me motivated. If you're interested, go ahead and reach out to Salt Lake City Fat Loss by going to their website. It's slcfatloss.com. You can schedule a free consultation, slcfatloss.com. If you use my name, you get an extra $200 off the program. Just go to slcfatloss.com.
Progressive presents 10 things on a contractor's to-do list that are harder than getting a commercial auto insurance quote. Bidding a new client, giving an accurate estimate, finding affordable materials, getting a client to pay you for work you already did, getting a client to pay you, period, securing permits and workers and tools, getting those workers and tools to work together, and finding the perfect pair of overalls. Pockets, baby. But the easiest thing on a small business owner's to-do list? Seeing if you can save on commercial auto insurance. Get a quote in as little as 7 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage subject to policy terms and conditions.
Pizza's here.
Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
I'm Jason Walton, candidate for U.S. Senate. I'm recording from the Tucson sector of our southern border, and nobody's here. Our government should defend our territory, but President Biden, Mitch McConnell, and career politicians are funding war in other countries while the cartels are waging unchecked war here on American soil. I'm standing up to build the wall, end catch and release, and secure the border. Stand with me.
I'm Jason Walton. The cost of food, gas, and interest rates have all risen because career politicians are addicted to spending, causing the federal debt to go up and our money's value to go down. My opponents are all big spending career politicians, but I'll stop runaway inflation by passing a balanced budget amendment, forcing the government to spend only what we give them. I'm Jason Walton, a Republican candidate for U.S. Senate, and I approve this message. Paid for by Friends of Jason Walton for Senate.
Traffic and weather together, again brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents a gallon. What's it looking like out there, Heather? Oh, it's Michelle. Hey, Michelle.
That's okay. That's okay, Tim. Well, it's improving on the West Belt. That earlier crash has cleared, but we are still looking at this serious accident in Sandy, 9400 South, 20th East, which is also Highland Drive. You are going to be forced, if you're headed eastbound on 94th, to turn south on Highland Drive. Choose a gorgeous new countertop for your kitchen or bath at Bedrock Quartz Stone Sale with selected choices at 50% off in June. Visit one of 7 showrooms today or bedrockquartz.com. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today will be another hot day. We might hit 100. We thought we'd get there yesterday and finished up at 99. Things begin to cool down on Saturday, however, and by Monday, 77, Tuesday, 75, and it looks like there might even be a 20% chance of showers that comes in with those clouds and cooler air. Right now in Salt Lake City, it is 81 degrees. At the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, remember to listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. Utah's top political story. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
I was not expecting to see this headline this morning. President Biden far outpacing former President Trump when it comes to fundraising in Utah. Biden's brought in more than $1 million, and Trump is trailing at $750K.
I'll tell you why I think these numbers are maybe flip-flopped than what you would expect here in Utah, is because when was the last time you saw a Donald Trump commercial here in Utah? When was the last time you had a campaign stop here in Utah? You don't. This is a rubber stamp for the Republican presidential candidate every single year, has been for decades. They don't spend any money. They don't give us any love. And I think Utah is fed up with it. We're not just going to keep sending you our money. We want to feel a little love coming back this way.
Here's what I think it is. I think that Utah Republicans are getting fed up with the state party antics. You had the caucus and the convention chaos that happened all within the last few months. There's some real doubts as to whether the convention candidates will be able to make it off the primary ballot, because right now the incumbents that the convention delegates did not choose are far outpacing popularity among Republicans outside the convention who don't attend convention, the more mainstream Republicans. I mean, the convention is catering to the more right wing of the party. I also think there's probably some concerns if I donate to Donald Trump's campaign, how much of that's going to go to the campaign and how much it's going to go to pay his legal bills. Taylor Morgan, KSL at Night host, and also a partner at Morgan May Consultants, live on the line. Hi, Tay.
Hey, Debbie. Hi, Dave.
How's it going?
For the record,
for the record, before we get to the political fundraising, I am Team Shotgun Wedding. I just want to put that.
You had one and yours lasted, right?
Absolutely right. Going on almost 20 years.
There you go. Yeah. Well, we'll see what the Salt Lake City Council decides to do if they decide to marry Smith Entertainment Group. I think that's where this is going. But anyway, on to fundraising. What are your thoughts?
Yes. Well, okay. So this pains me to say. I never like it when I have to come on there and say the word Dave is right, but he is. Donald Trump has raised $750,000 in this reporting period. Joe Biden has raised just over $1 million in the same reporting period. However, President Biden has been here in person for a fundraising stop in Park City. First Lady Jill Biden was just here at the beginning of the year for another in-person fundraising stop in Park City. And we just learned yesterday that Vice President Harris will be coming on June 28th for another fundraising stop. Donald Trump has not yet made a single fundraising stop for this cycle in Utah yet. He was scheduled to be here this month, but that fundraising visit has been postponed due to the new debate schedule. So ultimately, the Biden campaign has been here twice, will be here again. Donald Trump has not yet done any in-person fundraising in Utah. Also, it's important to point out that Park City has long been a very lucrative ATM machine for Democratic presidential candidates. This is nothing new. There is not necessarily a connection between the presidential national political fundraising that happens in Utah and down ballot fundraising, even for federal races. Those two aren't really connected. There's a lot of money, particularly in Park City, for Democrats. Republicans are also starting to do a little more of their own fundraising in Park City, but it's not to the same extent as Democrats.
Talking to Taylor Morgan, a KSL at Night host. You can hear him pretty regularly. You're taking over the airwaves here from 7 to 9 weeknights right here on KSL News Radio. Okay, look, President Biden is outpacing Donald Trump in fundraising in Utah. You've laid out the reasons why. Well, here's my pushback to that. While Donald Trump hasn't been here in person, you can donate because he's very in your face. He's sending out texts. He's sending out emails. And every time the guy has another trip, stumble, and fall up the ladder regarding his court cases, he sends out another email. I'm the victim. Help me out. Donate to my campaign. So I do think that a lot of Republicans are, they're sick of it. They're tired of that, and they don't know where their money's going to get spent. They don't know if it's going to go to the campaign to buy a billboard on I-15 or if it's going to be used to pay his mounting legal fees. What are your thoughts about that?
I think there is some truth to that, Debbie, though. I think it's pretty limited, the impact that it could have. I do think that Donald Trump's antics generate some degree of pro-Biden fundraising. However, I really don't see it on a huge level, right? We actually just learned from a new poll that was released by the Deseret News. Donald Trump is currently polling 29 points ahead of Joe Biden among active registered Utah voters today. When voters are asked how they would vote if the presidential election was held today, Donald Trump's ahead by 29 points. So, yes, his antics do have an impact on fundraising, but I think it's on a small scale, and it is maybe prompting a little more Joe Biden money, but also some money and support is flowing to RFK Jr. as a consequence of that, which to me is or you might as well light that money on fire, folks.
You're saying there's not really a chance. There's not a pathway for RFK?
No, Dave, there is absolutely not.
I totally agree. Look at that. You and I both agreeing with each other through the entire segment. You know what? We're holding hands. That's just how it is. Thank you, Taylor.
This day. It's a little awkward. This isn't normal, right?
Enjoy it while it lasts.
This is
just
an
enjoy
awkward
it.
bro moment. All right, awkward bro moment. I want to take live phone calls. I'm looking for somebody to agree with me. Anybody agree with me? Anybody agree with me? Are you tired of the Republican Party antics And so you're going to claw back any donation, or you're just tired of the Republican Party antics just overall, and you're starting to tune it out. 801-575-TALK, 801-575-TALK. Dave, you want to say something?
Oh, I was just going to say, my point of view is I think Donald Trump has not even given Utah a little side-eye glance. You know, you're just looking for a little attention, just a little love, and he has not thought about Utah forever, because Utah, you're going to get all of our votes. You're going to get all the electoral votes. You're leading by 29 points. He's got his eyes and focused somewhere else. There's another relationship he's looking for, and it's not Utah. He's already got you.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Hello, I'm former Governor Gary Herbert. I've known Spencer Cox for over 15 years. His commitment to Utah and to our future is unmatched. In his first term, he passed record tax cuts while increasing teachers' salaries and funding for education. Now more than ever, we need a strong, principled, conservative leadership in this state. I trust Spencer Cox completely. Vote to keep Utah strong. Re-elect Spencer Cox as governor.
Paid for by friends of Spencer Cox.
Make this summer truly unforgettable with a swim spa from Bullfrog Spas. Experience the perfect blend of space for swimming, playing, and exercising, along with the ultimate relaxation provided by our exclusive Jetpack Therapy System. For a limited time, save up to $5,000 and receive a complimentary swim tether kit valued over $400. Make your family exercise and relaxation dreams of a Bullfrog Swim Spa a reality. Special financing options also available. Visit your local Bullfrog Spas factory store today.
Bullfrog Spas. Peaceful body, peaceful mind, peaceful home.
Sign up for KSL text alerts and you could win cash. Text the word cash to 57500 for a chance to win $250. That's cash to 57500. Plus, you'll get breaking news and traffic updates right to your phone. Want to win more prizes? Text contest to 57500. Jazz fans, text the word jazz for breaking Utah Jazz news. And Cougar fans, text BYU to 57500 for the latest on the Cougars. Message and data rates may apply. For an alternate entry method and complete contest rules, go to KSLNewsRadio.com.
In a world where ugly siding, leaky gutters, and inefficient windows are sapping homeowners of their will to live, one company must save us all. This year, join RGS Exteriors as it embarks on a mission to eliminate outdated home exteriors, one Utah home at a time. Every plank of old, ugly siding must be replaced. Every leaky gutter must be eradicated. Every inefficient, energy-sapping window must be vanquished once and for all. Begin your epic remodeling quest by calling RGS Exteriors for a free estimate. Discover how a heroic team of experts will save your siding, gutters, or windows for a fair, no-nonsense price. Call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or journey online to rgsexteriors.com. RGS Exteriors, coming soon to a home near you.
The fight to defeat the swamp, defend our constitutional liberties, and put America first starts in Utah with conservative outsider Trent Staggs. As mayor of Riverton, Staggs stood up to Rhino Mitt Romney, fought against unconstitutional government COVID lockdowns and mandates, and Staggs was the first candidate to endorse President Donald Trump. Now, conservative Trent Staggs will continue to defend our conservative values by taking the fight to Washington, D.C. and defeating the swamp. In Congress, Staggs will partner with fellow conservative Rand Paul to protect our constitutional liberties, end taxpayer-funded handouts to Ukraine, secure our border, and deport illegal aliens. That's why Trent Staggs has earned President Trump and Senator Rand Paul's complete and total endorsement. A proven conservative, taking the fight to the Washington swamp. Trent Staggs for U.S. Senate. Protect Freedom PAC paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. www.protectfreedompac.com.
It's time for Rush Hour Rivals. In one corner is a helmet-donning bicyclist. In the other corner is a seatbelt-wearing driver. Can the driver keep a 3-foot distance on the road?
Can the cyclist ride in the bike lane and wear reflective gear? Who will win?
I'm fine to ride in the bike lane and wear reflective gear.
Yeah, and I can easily keep a 3-foot distance.
So, not rivals at all?
Nah.
Meet in the middle so your paths don't. A message from the Utah Department of Public Safety.
I love it when something just clicks. I carried around way too much weight for way too long, then everything changed. What clicked? For me, what clicked was SOTA weight loss. SOTA stands for state-of-the-art, S-O-T-A, because it is, and that's what clicked for me. Having my own nutritionist and coach every step of the way, it clicked. Not worrying about counting this or mixing that, it clicked. Breaking bad emotional eating habits and replacing them with good healthy habits, it clicked. You know what else clicked? My belt. I lost 37 pounds in 90 days, and as those pounds and inches fell away, my belt started to click. A lot. Who knew that the clicking of my belt would become the sound of my success every day for 2.5 years and counting? So how fast do you want to let go of the weight? Just click. Click one simple button at sodaweightloss.com and save 15%. It's incredible. Just click Request a Nutritionist Callback, and SOTA Nutritionist will call you before you know it. As I always say, it starts with a click at sotaweightloss.com.
Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness.
Master Electrical Services, home of the upfront pricing guarantee.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Tim Hughes. First, Evan Gerskovich, the Wall Street Journal reporter being held in Russia, will stand trial on espionage charges, officially ending any future pre-detention appeals. Second, the Salt Lake City Planning Commission is not supporting zoning changes for Smith Entertainment Group's massive Delta Center in downtown project. The main concern? It's moving too fast. And third, the high temperatures are making conditions just right for wildfires, especially in southern Utah. The first red flag warning of the year is set to go into effect today. Speaking of hot, how about 100 degrees, the forecast high this afternoon? And right now in Salt Lake City, we've already made it to 80. Back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Utah's top political story. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
We're taking your live phone calls right now on the fact that President Biden has outpaced fundraising efforts by a landslide when it comes to his opponent, Donald Trump.
The Federal Election Commission shows Biden has raised more than $1 million here in Utah, while Trump has raised around $750,000. But KSL at Night host and political consultant Taylor Morgan says this doesn't necessarily indicate how Utahns will vote come November.
Utah might end up donating more to President Biden than former President Trump, even though Donald Trump will carry Utah probably by at least 20 points, if not more.
That's Heather Peterson reporting, KSL News Radio reporter. We just spoke to Taylor Morgan as well, live, and he gave us that same take and a lot more.
Yeah, and he said in some polling, it's got President Trump up about 30 points on Joe Biden. And I think ultimately, instead of looking at this and saying Utah is not supporting Donald Trump or they don't want to donate to his campaign, is I think they're looking at it and saying there's no point. He's going to carry Utah, no question, easy, spend your money elsewhere. And I think largely Utahns are fine with that.
Well, if Utahns donate, so I'm just trying to get my brain wrapped around your thought process on that. If Utahns donate to President Trump's campaign, wouldn't that help supplement his campaign efforts in other states where he might be on the bubble?
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, any dollar helps. I think in part when you're donating to a presidential candidate, you do want a little bit of a return on your investment. You would like them to show up, maybe do a fundraiser here, do a speech, even if it's an afternoon for a few hours. The fact that you put feet in Utah, that matters. And President Biden, Kamala Harris, First Lady Jill Biden, they have done this they have dropped by. They've visited Utah. They've made stops.
She's on her way back, Kamala Harris. She's going to be here June 28th. Lou from Provo, do you think this is a message to the Donald Trump campaign that Utahns are tired of his antics?
I think that all of us need to stop referring to his antics as something cute and, oh my goodness, I wish it would go away. I think we need to refer to them to what they are, anti-democracy actions. And I don't think that even if he comes here, it should make that much difference. We need to look at what's going on in Washington, what's going on, and take care of it. Thank you.
Thank you for the phone call.
Lou.
And I do look at it. I look at what's going on in Washington, and I see out of control spending. I see a Social Security problem that is coming up in the next 8 years, where the Social Security essentially runs out of money in the next 8 years. It says it clear as day on the Social Security website. I see immigration being a massive problem. And I think ultimately when you look at Donald Trump and Joe Biden and what they've done during their 2 terms, we have an apples to apples comparison. They've both served a term, and we can look at it and say, okay, which future do I like? Now, I think you say avoid the antics. That's the only thing that gives me pause for Donald Trump, because I look at the things that he was able to do, and if you look at the policies, those are very conservative-driven policies. It's the antics. If you tell me to not look at the antics, it's not even close. But when you look at the policies, that's ultimately where I think a lot of people are holding their nose and saying, well, I don't like Donald Trump the person, but I do like his policies.
Turning to our KSL News Radio Facebook post, we posted this question online on our KSL News Radio Facebook page this morning. Sydney says, yes, I've been frustrated with them for a long time now. It keeps getting worse, not better. I agree with you, Sydney, and I think there's only so much bandwidth people have for, I don't know a better word right now, Lou. I'm going to think of one. Maybe you should text it to us at 57500 of the antics. Perhaps a better word to describe the caucus and the convention system here in Utah this last couple of months has been more chaos. And I think Republicans who are trying to participate in the process feel shut out. I know several people who are registered Republicans, have been registered Republicans for a lifetime. They show up at the caucuses and they get turned away. That was the one that happened in March, where there were long lines and people were getting turned away. And then they find out, at the convention that the delegates have picked some of the candidates that they wouldn't have selected for the ballot. And so now they're holding their nose. There are Republicans in the state who are holding their nose because they don't want to switch parties, but they're sick of it.
I also think it's very important not to overvalue what's going on behind the scenes. The caucus convention is so sparsely attended. The vast majority of Republicans in this state, they have no idea what's going on behind closed doors. They don't really show up to caucus night. So the people that do are certainly the most invested and certainly are frustrated. Most of Utah does not show up to that.
Okay. Kyle from West Jordan, you think Republicans are tired of the antics of the party and Trump?
No, Debbie. The people in Park City are total liberals. Why don't you bring up the racist, anti-white Utah Jazz Scholarship Program?
I don't know anything. Okay, I don't even know how we allow that phone call on the air. I don't know anything about that at all. Keep it on point, folks. Keep it on point. Don't call the show and then try to derail it with comments that haven't been fact-checked and that are completely off base. The topic of discussion has to do with whether or not Republicans are just getting burnt out on this state. Keep it simple. Keep it simple.
And what we've seen is fundraising for Joe Biden, which, quite honestly, this is shocking. The fact that he's raised more money than Donald Trump is a shocking piece of information there, right? We don't see that happening. But that being said, we see in all the polls, Donald Trump is dominating Joe Biden in likely voters. He leads Joe Biden by 30 points. So fundraising doesn't really matter. Ultimately, how you vote matters.
Big loss for those campaigning to make abortions more difficult. The Supreme Court ruling says that the most sought-after medication, a pill that's capable of inducing an abortion, will not be banned in the U.S. That's next.
FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. Salt Lake City Planning Commission has given a unanimous thumbs down to zoning changes for the Smith's Entertainment Group Massive Delta Center project downtown. Main concern among commission members, including Richard Tuttle, is that this is moving too fast.
It seems like we're being expected to act relatively suddenly on this and not really with the kinds of information that we need to make a responsible decision.
Some members also expressed concern with some of the building plans and how some of them just aren't fully lined out. The City Council has until September 1st to make a final decision on that project. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Israeli doctors who've examined the 4 hostages rescued last week say they were starved, beaten, and psychologically abused. They're being released now from the hospital. The doctors say they face a long journey to recovery. The 4 were kidnapped back in October when Hamas crossed the border from Gaza and attacked a music festival in southern Israel. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day right now, 281 points, while the NASDAQ is up just about 28. And our KSL weather, sunny and hot again today. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
The Management Minute is a service of the MBA program in the John M. Huntsman School of Business at Utah State University. I'm Professor Scott Hammond. Many of us work in environments where failure is not an option. Flight crews, surgical teams, military, police, search and rescue. These kinds of high-stress work environments cause long-term activation of the body's stress response system, the overproduction of cortisol, and hypersensitivity to changes in the environment and criticism from peers. But stress can be managed and mitigated in the workplace with the right kind of programs and the right culture. The right kind of programs involve therapeutic, structured conversations about high-stress changes and events. The right culture includes strong social networks that help everyone on the team feel safe. As the working world becomes more automated, it also needs to become more personalized. Learn more about how your teams can become trauma-aware with an MBA degree from Utah State University. Go to utahstatemba.com. I'm Scott Hammond. Hope to see you in one of our classes.
We have some exciting news to announce. Master Electrical Service has joined Mountain Home Services.
And you know Master Electrical. They've been your trusted source for all your electrical needs for so long. And, you know, you've turned to them for EV chargers. You've turned to them for generators. We've been talking about that. And, you know, new recessed lighting to update that old lighting in your house.
And now that they've joined Mountain Home Services, they can help you with HVAC, heating and air, plumbing. And they've done that. I've used them in the past. You may know them as Mountain Air. Well, Mountain Home Services did a great job installing my furnace. It worked wonderfully. They'd come in and give it a tune-up. Like they'd remove things and they would spray it off and give it a deep clean, which is something I didn't realize you could do with a furnace. But, yeah, absolutely need it.
Of course, the best thing that we love so much about Master Electrical is their upfront pricing guarantee. Well, that is still a thing. Upfront pricing guarantee is so important. There's no hidden fees. The price that they quote you at the beginning of the job is the price you pay at the end.
Mountain Home Services is the company we trust, and so can you. Just learn more and find out how they can help you in your house. MountainHomeUtah.com. That's MountainHomeUtah.com.
Or give them a call, 801-543-2727. 2222 801-543-2222.
Hey, summer's here. Better replace your old air conditioner with up to $4,450 in incentives from First Choice Heating and Air on a new day and night system help.
Don't put it off. Have First Choice Heating and Air install a new day and night heat pump, AC, and furnace, and get rebates and tax credits totaling as much as $4,450. You'll be cool all summer and save on your energy bills.
Hi, this is Rob Freeman. Click online to firstchoicecool.com. We have you covered.
The difference is day and night at First Choice Heating and Air.
For the right repair and the right paint, the right choice is manufacturer-certified Martins Collision Repair. Hi, I'm Tiago Martins, and few have met the rigorous certification by Kia, Dodge, Infiniti, Chrysler, Jeep, Nissan, Hyundai, and many others. But it's one more reason that Martins is your right choice. Check online at martinscollision.com. On State Street in Orem and in Salem, we work with all insurance companies.
The right repair, the right paint, the right choice. Martins Collision Repair.
Traffic and weather together now, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Michelle Rowe.
Well, we have a serious crash in Sandy. This is 9400 South 20th East, which is also Highland Drive. It's affecting traffic in all directions in that intersection. We're not estimated to have a clearance on that until around 1 o'clock this afternoon, so you may want to find an alternate. Open up your world to new possibilities and a place to go finding, exploring, gifting for everyone. At This Is the Place Heritage Park. For information and more, visit thisistheplace.org. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
Hot again today with a high near 100. A cooling trend starts tomorrow with highs in the 70s expected by Monday and Tuesday. Right now, 81 degrees and sunny. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com for Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories. On KSL News Radio, Dave and Dujanovic, special coverage of the top national story.
Well, here's the headline. It happened this morning just before the show. You heard it break here live on Utah's Morning News that the U.S. Supreme Court rejected Texas's challenge to access to an abortion pill. This was a big setback, a huge loss for those who for more than 20 years, Dave, have been trying to figure out a way to make it illegal for women to obtain access to a very popular form of abortion, which is taking a pill that induces one. And the Supreme Court said, nope, they can still have access.
And I think the aha moment for me is how often this drug, mifepristone, is being used. In fact, it is by far the most popular form of abortion.
Yeah. Greg Skordas, our KSL legal analyst, on the line with us live right now. And so this is it, right? I mean, this has been a 20-year fight for some who've wanted to get this FDA-approved abortion pill banned in the United States, but the Supreme Court said, no, we're going to keep it as is. It's going to stay legal.
Well, yes and no, and I don't have a great answer. But what the Supreme Court said, Debbie, was that the particular plaintiffs, this group of conservative doctors who were challenging this FDA approval, or actually they'd already been approved, but the FDA relaxed the restrictions on mifepristone, relaxed some of the guidelines, and made it easier for people to get, even allowed it to be mailed. This group of doctors challenged that and said the FDA it didn't take into account the risks and a lot of other things. The Supreme Court merely said that the group of doctors who filed this lawsuit don't have standing. They weren't even an appropriate group to file the lawsuit. So they tossed it out and said, you don't have a dog in the fight, so to speak, and therefore we're going to say that you're not even an appropriate party to bring a lawsuit. That doesn't mean that some other group might bring it again someday, because the Supreme Court never reached the issue of whether or not the FDA had exceeded its authority or had acted inappropriately by not taking into account certain medical risks. They simply said this particular group of doctors don't have the right to bring this action.
Greg, it almost seems like instead of really giving a ruling on it, almost threw it out on a technicality.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what it is, but and we call it that, and you're exactly right. But the FDA and the administration always said, who are these people to bring this lawsuit? They don't have standing. They don't have any ability to bring this lawsuit. They're not even affected by it. They're not harmed by it. There could be groups that are, Dave, and there could be groups that'll bring another lawsuit later on. There almost certainly will be. But this particular group, it just happens to be some conservative doctors who are very anti-abortion, but aren't involved in that community at all themselves professionally. The Supreme Court said you just don't have a right to bring this lawsuit. But you're right; it's some people would call it a technicality, but the Supreme Court calls it the standing, that you have to have standing to bring a lawsuit.
Greg, what's always baffling to me that cases like this reach to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court rules you don't have standing. And this wasn't anything that happened in just a couple of days. This has been in the courts for quite some time, and in fact, the fight to get this banned began with a petition back in 2002. I'm not saying that's how long the cases have been going on, but what's always so baffling to me is that how does it make it to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court says, the party, in the case of the plaintiffs, don't have standing. Where were the other judges along the way?
Well, the trial court ruled differently. The trial court said, yes, you have standing, and yes, the FDA exceeded its authority. So the administration appealed that to the Court of Appeals, the Circuit Court of Appeals. They ruled similar to what the Supreme Court has done. So I know it's difficult, and we deal with these issues where different courts make different rulings, but that's why we have the Supreme Court to make the final ruling when there are inconsistent rulings in lower courts, so that we have a consensus. We have a national consensus on what the law is on issues like this. I know what you're saying, and it's troubling for a lot of people, but every once in a while the Supreme Court just has to put its foot down and say, no, this is going to be the law of the land in America.
Greg, how would you describe somebody with standing? Like, how directly affected do you need to be?
That's a question that I'll give you a bad answer, which is sort of, it depends. If I punch you in the nose and you want to sue me, you have standing. But if Debbie says, hey, I don't like what you did to my friend Dave, she doesn't have standing. She doesn't have she's not a victim. She doesn't stand to gain anything by it. And that's not the best example in the world, but
it's actually a pretty good example. Like that paints a pretty good picture.
Yeah.
Our courts really say if you're a party, you have an interest in the outcome more than just, your feelings politically or socially, and then you have standing. But if it's not something like that, then you just don't.
So at the end of the day, what the Supreme Court has done today is allowed mifepristone to still be prescribed as a way to induce an abortion. That's right? They're not doing anything with this pill. Is not going away. And if this group wants to go back and find somebody who does have standing, they're welcome to do so. Then they've got to wind it through the whole court process all over again.
Right. We'll see you in 2 years. Exactly. You're exactly right.
That's how long these things take, right?
Yeah. On a good day. Yep.
All right. Greg Skordas, our legal analyst, thanks so much for jumping on the air with us once again. He's a regular on the show, as we know, and we love having him on the show. You can also hear Greg on KSL at night from 7 to 9.
There were a few things that stood out to me. Was Associate Justice Brett Kavanaugh wrote the opinion, and he told the plaintiffs that you can't sue simply because you have a desire to make a drug less available for others. Like, that is not standing. Just because you don't want this to be around, that's not a good enough reason. You need somebody that is directly affected and has been negatively affected to be able to rally around this lawsuit.
Straight ahead, we've had some real tragedies here in Utah in just the last couple of weeks because we've had such high water runoff, such, snow's melting quickly. Now the temperatures are in the triple digits, and people are falling into rivers. And there's some areas, particularly along the Provo River, that have become extremely dangerous to the point where we had one 12-year-old boy fall in the river last weekend, and for 4 miles, nobody could seem to grab onto him and get him out of the river, and he ended up dying, passing away. And in fact, the rescue was so harrowing. Remember, Dave, we talked about a search and rescuer that lost the ability to hold onto the rope and couldn't get out of the river and slipped back in.
And this is coming from people that have been trained in swift water rescue. And even with the equipment, with people that have been trained, it is still incredibly dangerous.
So straight ahead, we're going to talk about how they're stepping up patrols around some areas of the Provo River, police patrols, and raising the red flag that things are going to get worse before they get better.
Dave and Dujanovic.
A lot of us are filling our workdays with podcasts.
When you're working, go to KSLNewsRadio.com.
Click on Dave and Debbie's podcast and pick a topic and story length.
Podcast with Dave and Debbie. Then get to work with KSL News Radio.
Want to save on some of the biggest names in streaming on the network made for streaming? X marks the spot. Now through September 21st, get 150 megabit Xfinity Internet for 12 months with a 1-year contract. And for just $15 a month, add the new Stream Saver that includes Peacock, Apple TV Plus, and Netflix. That's Xfinity Internet and Stream Saver for just $35 a month. All your favorites all in one place, only from Xfinity. So go ahead and binge some shows, stream some movies, and save some money all at the same time. For more watching and less spending, X marks the spot. Switch to Xfinity, the network made for streaming, and bring on the good stuff. Go to Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Restrictions apply. Internet offer requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Equipment taxes and fees extra after promo. Regular rates apply currently $54 a month. Actual speeds vary. Stream Saver requires Xfinity, Internet, or TV, and price subject to change.
Are you using the KSL News Radio app to listen to your favorite shows whenever you want? You can podcast Utah's morning news even after it's finished at 9. You can listen to Dave and Dujanovic or Boyd Matheson. Just click on the podcast tab. And you can stream Jeff Kaplan live between 3 and 7 right from the player. All of those shows, plus the KSL Greenhouse and Cougar Sports Saturday. They're on the app for KSL News Radio. KSL News Radio.
Let me tell you, I can speak from firsthand experience. I just sold a house that was built in 1978, original windows. They were a disaster.
Oh, yes.
They were so
yes.
bad. So joining us right now with Advanced Window Products, Nate Orchard and Jake Weber. Holy cow, Jake, so help me. They were the worst windows ever.
Hey, those old windows, those original windows in a home, sometimes they can look okay, but oftentimes the energy efficiency, the issues that you have with those windows, the lack of being able to open them, the functionality, it is when you have those old original windows. Yeah,
you're totally right.
You can't open them. And that's why we're here. We're here today. First time on your show with you guys. We're so grateful to be here, excited to be with you. Coming out hot, we just want to let all your listeners know, if you're in need of new windows or thinking about new windows, we have a special for you today.
Awesome.
A Father's Day special. We're offering $2,500 off, 10 or more windows. Plus, if you call today and get on the schedule today, we're going to give you a $500 gift card to Home Depot for that special father in your life or for whoever you want to gift that to. Or we'll give you $3,000 off the 10 or more windows.
Nate, we were at Advanced Window Products last week, Dave and I taking a tour, and I know from being out there what sets you guys apart from the competition.
Yeah, we are the manufacturer, right? You guys, we were fortunate to have you come to our place and tour our manufacturing facility, but we are your one-stop shop, right? And that's what sets us apart, from the sale to the manufacturing to the installation. And then on top of that, you have a lifetime warranty, right? That we've been in business for 38 years, and so if you have the thought of replacing your windows, please give Advanced Windows a call and give us an opportunity to earn your business.
When you say lifetime warranty, what do you mean by that?
Well, if anything comes up ever with the glass, right? If kids are throw a baseball through the glass, or you're mowing the lawn and you accidentally shatter a piece of glass, we're there to replace it, right? Giving you peace of mind, knowing that if something comes up with the latch or the function of your window doesn't seem right, just give us a holler and we'll be there to take care of you.
And you guys walked us through a science experiment where you showed us how well those windows keep the heat out. Keep the heat out.
Yeah, with the radiometer. Yeah,
Yes.
and that's something, if you call today, you're going to get, Rob is on the other line waiting for your call.
Okay.
He'll come out to your house in the next day or two, and he will do that same demonstration for the homeowners, showing the heat transfer through regular glass versus the glass that we provide, and the way that you're able to transform your home and the energy efficiency of your home.
Oh, you could feel the difference. Nate, Jake, if you don't mind, stick around for a little bit longer. Again, remember that Father's Day special with Advanced Window Products. You're going to get $2,500 off 10 windows or more. Plus, if you call today, you're going to get an additional $500 gift card off or a $500 gift card at Home Depot, or you can just take the $3,000 off the windows. It's amazing. So, guys, stick around. We want to continue this conversation.
My wife and I always loved doing everything together. Jiu-jitsu, kayaking, and intimacy was always on point. It was around my early 30s when I noticed a downward trend. Watching a lot of TV, putting on weight, and just full of self-doubt. I had tried another men's clinic with disappointing results. It's the personalized treatment I received at Revive Men's Health that has been the complete game changer for me. I've got my energy and motivation back, I'm feeling stronger than I did in my 20s, and it made me a much better husband to my wife.
I'm Eric Ramos, healthcare provider at Revive Men's Health. If you are always feeling tired or moody, have a difficult time sleeping, or decreased libido, you may be suffering from low testosterone.
Book your free T-check and exam at Revive Men's Health, Salt Lake City. Call 801-263-7777. That's 801-263-7777. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Any Hour Services can make sure your AC keeps you cool this summer. Whether you need a tune-up, repair, or just a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit AnyHourServices.com.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the Salt Lake City Planning Commission gave the owner of the Utah Jazz a thumbs down on its big plan for renovating the Delta Center and the blocks around it. Commissioners say this is moving too fast. Second, doctors say the Israeli hostages who were rescued in Gaza last week had been abused by their captors. And third, ozone. Summer air pollution is building up in the hot weather this week. 81 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Well, couldn't help but notice the alert from the Provo Police Department, Dave, about the Provo River. In fact, they're so concerned how fast it's flowing out there and the dangers. And, of course, we had that child drown this last weekend in the Provo River, that they're stepping up patrols in that area.
I was surprised when we were covering that tragic story with KSL Television. They were shooting video of how quickly moving that river was. What stood out to me is you had kids running all around this area, just a few feet away.
Video you saw
on
that.
the video. It was, there were, and I get it. These rivers are so long. There's so many people around it. You don't have gates. You don't have barriers. It's up to you, the individual, the parent, the child, to stay an appropriate distance away.
And when that little boy, or 12-year-old boy, went into the river this weekend, there was witnesses trying to scramble and figure out what to do. And eventually he was taken out of the river about 4 miles down and then taken to the hospital. He did not make it, but really, listen to witness Jorge Rojas about, it just really impacts everybody who is in the area.
Water's way too high. The river's going way too fast. When I did see him, he was face down and going in head first. And so I immediately was panicked and we all started screaming. I was scared that we had lost him already. It's one thing to hear it and one thing to see it in person. It's a completely different experience, and you definitely feel the emotion and the remorse for the person, but for their family as well.
And one of the things to remember, Debbie, is when you go into these creeks and the water, it's moving so quickly. It's not just the water that is so powerful, that is so dangerous. It's the rocks. It's the debris in the water that is just floating around there. So you can be a great swimmer, but if you get hit by a tree branch, you get hung up in a rock, then it's over. It's so incredibly dangerous.
We are so fortunate to be partners with the Utah Division of Outdoor Recreation and Ranger Travis Hancock joining us live on the line. Good morning.
Morning. How are we doing?
Good. I'm glad that Provo PD is going to step up patrols around the Provo River. I know that area has been particularly ravaged, especially there was an avalanche around Bridalveil Falls. It was about a year and a half ago that I think has changed up the ecosystem around there and made it a little more difficult for people who are hiking that area. But these rivers are flowing so fast, and I think we're not even at our peak yet.
Yeah, it's a dangerous time of year. In spring in Utah, usually this is the same stuff we're dealing with. Just the rivers they're raging. There's a lot of debris, like you mentioned. Probably one of the biggest things is the temperature of the river. People think because it's warm outside that water's warm, and it's not. It's still 50 degrees, which when you get in there really quickly, makes it so you lose dexterity. You can't swim as much, and that attributes to a lot of drownings, just as much as rocks and debris and other things too.
Can you speak to the power of the river right now? I know sometimes we refer to it as cubic feet per second, or how powerful is that? And I guess for people that think they can wade in there a little bit, can you speak to that?
Yeah, a lot of the times, rivers, when people are wading and stuff, you're looking at under 100 cubic feet per second. Right now, a lot of the rivers are over 1,000. And again, the dams are full, so there's no way to slow it down. They're just dumping it out of the dam to keep it from coming over top the dams right now. So it's going to be a while before that river slows down. And at that rate, you can be in great shape. You're not going to be able to overcome the swiftness of the river and the power of that water coming down. It's way too much for a human to try to counteract.
The rivers are flowing so quickly, so fast, and they're so dangerous right now that the Provo Police Department has issued an alert and also said it's stepping up patrols around the Provo River. We had a 12-year-old boy slip in, and he went 4 miles downstream. They were not able to save him ultimately. This area is not the only danger. We've got other areas that are dangerous as well. And we're speaking live right now to Travis Hancock, who's a ranger with the Utah Division of Outdoor Recreation. And I think when we're together with our kids, we can remind them constantly, stay back, stay back. What I worry about is how many, stories that I've done in the past where it's kids are allowed to go hiking by themselves once they reach a certain age. They're teenagers. And I'm not sure they understand the level of danger. And I think this is a great parenting opportunity to talk to our kids right now. Like, if you're going to be outdoors with your friends, or you say you're going somewhere and you divert to an area to do a picnic or do a hike, stay away from these rivers.
Yeah, that's the best advice. It's nice to play near them. Kids want to splash, they want to throw rocks. There's just too many hazards, tripping hazards and, banks collapsing, different things like that you don't know are going to happen, but they can put you in a really bad situation quick where you haven't prepared yourself. And the truth of it is, unless you're right there alongside to try to grab somebody, they're already gone by the time you hear them screaming or something. And you can run as fast as you can to try to catch up. You're not going to be able to catch up with the flow of the river. One thing we always recommend whenever you're on water is life jackets. Life jackets will always extend, the amount of time where you can survive, and it'll keep you afloat, keep your face out of the water from taking in water. And life jackets are the main thing that can save your life if you're in those situations. So I know it sounds weird, but if you have kids that are playing in the area that's near them, obviously right now we'd recommend not playing in them, but if they are, when they're close, have a life jacket on them. That's, a great factor that can allow them to stay above the water and save their lives.
And if someone goes in, obviously you're trying to keep track of them, but they're moving so quickly, you dial 911 immediately?
Yeah, for sure. Get online with paramedics. Kind of our rule of thought is, if there's someone in the water, there's a few steps we want to try to take. The first thing we want to do is try to reach for them, right? So we want to avoid going in the water. If we can reach for them, that's great. Maybe that's grabbing a stick. Maybe that's, a rope or something like that. So try to reach for them first. If that's not there, obviously in rivers it's different, but the next thing is to row to them. So if you have a boat where you can, row out to them, The next thing is throw. So throw something to them, right? If you have a cooler or something that floats, try to throw something to them. They can grab onto it. It'll help them stay above the water. Again, a rope, if you could throw to them, pull them back in. And then the very last thing that we want anybody to do is to go in. And usually, unless you're, a swift water response or something like that, unfortunately, we have a lot of situations where people dive in trying to save somebody and they end up passing away too. So yeah, get a hold of somebody, try to get downriver where you could maybe throw something to the person, or there's a place you could reach them somewhere like that. But especially with the swiftness, we definitely don't recommend jumping in after them and making the situation worse.
Travis Hancock, thank you for joining us, a ranger with the Utah Division of Outdoor Recreation.
We can't say it enough, and I have done a lot of coverage in the last couple of weeks about water safety, and yet we come into work and we hear yet another drowning or a near drowning. So rivers are moving really, really super fast right now. You have to be so aware.
And if someone does go in, great advice: reach, row, throw, don't go.
Next.
It's 10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour: heat and wind combining to increase wildfire danger in southern Utah today. KSL News Radio's Andrew Gordon says a red flag warning has been issued.
This is the first red flag warning issued in the state of Utah this year. Temperatures are expected to exceed 100 degrees with strong winds of 10 to 20 miles per hour. Those, combined with the low humidity, are the perfect conditions for starting and spreading wildfires. Make sure all outdoor fires are extinguished properly and completely, and be extra cautious around dry grass and other vegetation. As always, follow all instructions provided by your local fire department.
Portions of Washington, Kane, and Garfield counties included in the weather alert. The warning will last until 9 o'clock tonight. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The U.S. Supreme Court has rejected a challenge to the FDA's approval of a drug used for abortions. It ruled the doctors who had sued the agency over access to mifepristone lacked legal standing to challenge the FDA decision. The ruling is a victory for abortion rights advocates. Your money at this moment: the Dow Jones average down on the day 281 points, the NASDAQ down about 24. And our KSL weather, going to be hot again today. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:31.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
The Utah RV Palooza is back and packed with new and used RVs to fit every budget. June 20th through the 22nd, come to the largest free RV show in the area at the shops at Southtown and Sandy. You'll find monthly payments starting under $149 on approved credit for select new RVs like a new 2024 GoPlay 19BH travel trailer. You'll also find huge savings on used motorhomes. We've got select 2023 and 2024 low mileage models from Thor and Jayco heavily discounted. The best deals don't last, so start shopping now at bishes.com/Utah RV Palooza Sandy. And make sure you tour the full lineup of GoPlay travel trailers, one of the fastest growing RV brands in Utah. Get special financing options like 90 days of all play and no pay OAC. And if you've got a trade, we want it. Get an additional $1,000 towards your travel trailer or fifth wheel trade-in. See dealer for details. Admission is free to the Utah RV Palooza, Thursday, June 20th through Saturday, June 22nd at the shops at Southtown and Sandy. Sponsored by Bish's RV. Stock number L75163 based on 20% down, 8.99% APR for 180 months. Subject to prior sales. See dealer for details.
Let's talk about some windows, folks. I know you're thinking about it, especially when it's really warm right now. It's hot. Let's improve the efficiency of your house right now with Advanced Window Products. They got an amazing Father's Day sale going right now. It's a Father's Day special, $2,500 off, 10 windows or more. If you call today, you're going to get an extra $500 in a gift card to Home Depot. And trust me, Father's Day, I'm loving me some Home Depot. Joining us right now, Nate Orchard and Jake Weber from Advanced Window Products. You guys, it can be an investment. And when people are looking at getting some new windows, how can they afford it?
Yeah, I think that is the number one concern with the homeowner when you think about new windows is the price and the cost and how can I afford to switch out all of my windows. And Look, we've been around, as Nate said, for 38 years, and we have these great relationships with banks. We have all of these different options for any budget to get you financed and to make it so these windows can become affordable for you. And it's from like different options, like a 60-month 0% interest loan, or we have like a 24-month no payment, no interest. So you could wait 2 years to pay anything on that, so you save a couple of your tax returns and buy those windows. But the thing that's so great about it is you have the financing options where it could be as low as $170 a month, offsetting that with the energy savings that you get from putting in the new windows.
Nate, make sure you give us the phone number so our listeners can give you a call and remind us what this Father's Day special is all about.
Yeah, the number to call is 801-850-9100, and Rob will be on the other end. Rob's been with us for a long time, wealth of knowledge. He considers himself a world-class athlete, which is questionable to myself, but he'll be able to answer all your window needs. And so, yeah, please, if you have any window questions or thought about replacing your windows, give Rob a call. He'd be happy to come by and just educate you on our product.
And with this special, now's the time,
Now's the time.
$2,500 off plus the Home Depot gift card.
Yeah.
And what
and some, if you'd rather have just $3,000 off, you don't need the Home Depot gift card. We're going to give that to you, but you got to call today. Ideally during the show. Call during the show, and we're going to give you that $3,000 off. And again, that phone number is 801-850-9100.
I love that you're like, Rob's going to pick up. This is not going to be like some call center. Rob's picking up.
He's gonna be the one answering the phone. You can say, "Hey, what's up, Rob? Let me talk to you about some windows."
Well, Dave, again, the beautiful thing with what we do, we cut out the middleman. We don't give you the runaround. If it comes to service down the road, speaking to a technician, all you got to do is call, and one of our reps will be picking up the phone.
Awesome.
That's great. Make sure you take advantage of that fantastic deal right now with Advanced Window Products. Again, that number is 801-850-9100.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Michelle Rowe.
Well, crews are in the final stages of a cleanup of a crash in Sandy at 90th 400 South 20th East, which is Highland Drive. Traffic in all directions has been affected. Looks like they're getting that reopened now. Start your summer drive with a new auto loan from Cypress Credit Union and enjoy competitive rates and flexible terms. Visit cypresscu.com or ask for Cypress at the dealership. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
Hot again today with a high near 100. A cooling trend starts tomorrow with highs in the 70s expected by Monday and Tuesday. And right now we're at 82 degrees with sunny skies. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories. On KSL News Radio, Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local stories.
Well, some might say this is a big setback for the plan to redo downtown around the Delta Center. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but there was a vote. And the Planning Commission in Salt Lake City unanimously decided that things were happening too quick with the redevelopment area, what they call it, the revitalization zone. So they said thumbs down to this plan.
And I want to know more about why they would say that. This seems to me like such an incredible opportunity for downtown. I have for a long time thought we just need something more here. You can't just sit back, rest on your laurels, and say the Jazz are popular, people come down. No, that's 41 nights out of the year that Jazz games are going to bring people downtown. I need more reasons. I need better design, because right now it feels like a whole bunch of islands to me. It feels like the Delta Center's an island, and Gateway's an island, and City Creek's an island. There's no flow to any of this.
What island is the Salt Palace on?
Oh, that is
That's
like
Gilligan's Island.
Yeah, that's
it's Gilligan's
the
Island.
middle of nowhere.
You said, I want to know what commissioners and the Planning Commission were thinking. In just a moment, we're going to explain like a little bit more, not a lot, because that would get really boring on radio, how the process works and why I don't think that's that big of a deal. This vote is that big of a deal, because I still think the city council is going to go through with it. But here's Commissioner Bree Shear. She's on the Planning Commission. She raised concerns about this plan.
The Salt Palace is a terrible block, and I'm happy to see that somebody might want to do something to it. But I don't want to give carte blanche to something that's so rapidly developed.
Okay, and then here's Planning Commissioner Richard
But
Tuttle.
it seems like we're being expected to act relatively suddenly on this and not really with the kinds of information that we need to make a responsible decision.
It's just too much too soon, Dave. That was the big message that came out of that meeting last night.
And they're not wrong. They're not wrong. This is a rocket ship. Planning commissions, they want to organize everything. They want to plan everything out. They want to think of every possible scenario, the pros and the cons. And I respect that and I understand it. But this NHL team is coming tomorrow. They're going to be playing in October. This is a few months away. So we have to supercharge this. We have to put a booster rocket on this and get it moving because this is happening whether you like it or not.
Planning commissions are powerful. They can give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down to a project in terms of recommending it to the city council. Okay, so they're powerful. I think in this case, it's going to become clear that they hold a lot more power if you're coming to them with plans to redo like a lot, like a quarter-acre lot in a neighborhood, and they can decide whether you can put a duplex there or you can do a single-family home there. But I think in this case, there's been quite a bit of process that is new to the Planning Commission in this situation, and that is that this is coming from Capitol Hill. And Capitol Hill has put its weight behind a redevelopment project in downtown Salt Lake City. And the mayor has seemed excited about it. I think the city council, which will make the ultimate decision, will decide this gets a thumbs up. The timeline is quite quick. They have to make a decision before fall. Mm-hmm. So it's coming fast. But sometimes with cities and counties, and we've all seen this, it can take decades. It's like they're walking uphill in shoes of concrete and people are jumping through hoops and trying to get rid of the red tape. That's not this. And maybe this could be a model for how we should be doing things. I don't want to be dead by the time they decide.
You can talk a good deal to death.
Yeah. Well, I'll be dead, by the time they decide.
Yeah.
I don't want to be 95 when they finally decide to remodel downtown Salt Lake City. It's time. You brought this up earlier. It's taken how many decades to make a decision on State Street? Yet it's still the same old State Street.
Yeah. And as soon as it was announced that they're going to pour a ton of money, billions of dollars into this revitalization zone, the latest State Street renovation comes out, and this is what we're throwing our weight behind. And there's going to be green spaces and walkable. Like, someone already passed you up with a better idea, and they're moving forward, and they could break ground by 2025. So if this gets approved, the spending is all in place. It could break ground by 2025. And if you put up too much of a fight, Lindsay Aerts did a great interview with Mike Mon with the Smith Entertainment Group yesterday. And right out of the gate, I heard this, and it shocked me.
I can go build a sports and entertainment center down south.
That's what the Smith Entertainment Group said. They also have said this isn't a threat. The point we are making is we were originally planning on building down south, a big sports complex, blank slate, build it exactly the way we want. Until the state of Utah and Salt Lake City said, please don't move the Jazz downtown. Don't move hockey away from the downtown area. Build here. We're going to invest and revitalize this area. So the Smith Entertainment Group said, great. Let me hear your proposal. What are you thinking? Can we make this work together? And this is how it all came together. And it did, admittedly, came together so incredibly fast. But there is the underlying threat that if it doesn't work downtown, they'll do it down south.
Well, it's kind of a reverse threat because one of the planning commissioners last night said this about that.
I'm not so sure I care that much about the legislature's imposed deadline. If that's their deadline, take it to Sandy. Let Sandy deal with this.
Boom. So the planning commissioner said, if that's your deadline, take it to Sandy.
You don't care? Because we're talking about billions of dollars of investment in just a few city blocks. This is an incredible investment. They're talking about high-rise buildings, housing. In fact, I think we could maybe even talk about that. One of the proposals, and this is in part what gives the Planning Commission some heartburn. One of the proposals, Debbie, is we're going to increase the maximum height of buildings maybe up to 600 feet. The church office building, that's 420 feet. The church office building for a long time was the tallest building in all of Salt Lake downtown, 420 feet. They're saying this could go up to 600 feet. The Salt Lake Temple is 200 feet tall, 3 times the size. So I understand why the Planning Commission is a little bit nervous. We're talking about things we've never seen before.
Underground Road.
Another great example.
300 West. One of the proposals is to build an underground road so they can make that area above ground walkable. There's concerns over Bravenel Hall and what will happen. It's where the Utah Symphony plays. There's the idea that they're going to take chunks out of the Salt Palace. So there is a lot to consider. Change is always hard. This is the first step, but I think ultimately it might not matter. It might not matter whatsoever. The deadline is September. We'll see what the City Council decides to do with the Planning Commission's recommendation. Straight ahead, Jay Evenson fits perfectly into this discussion. He's the opinion editor with the Deseret News, and he wrote an opinion about sports betting and whether that will bring down the future of sports, of professional sports. That's next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
You know KSL is the only news radio for your car, right?
The only news radio for your smart speaker.
Come here in the morning. It's the latest news and traffic. In the afternoon, news and updated weather.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
I love it when something just clicks. I carried around way too much weight for way too long, then everything changed. What clicked? For me, what clicked was SOTA weight loss. SOTA stands for state-of-the-art, SOTA, because it is, and that's what clicked for me. Having my own nutritionist and coach every step of the way, it clicked. Not worrying about counting this or mixing that, it clicked. Breaking bad emotional eating habits and replacing them with good healthy habits, it clicked. You know what else clicked? My belt. I lost 37 pounds in 90 days, and as those pounds and inches fell away, my belt started to click. A lot. Who knew that the clicking of my belt would become the sound of my success every day for 2.5 years and counting? So how fast do you want to let go of the weight? Just click. Click one simple button at sodaweightloss.com and save 15%. It's incredible. Just click Request a Nutritionist Callback, and SOTA Nutritionist will call you before you know it. As I always say, it starts with a click at sotaweightloss.com.
Progressive presents Flo and JB announcing a monster truck rally.
And here comes the Obliterator. Whoa! And he's up on 2 wheels. That can't be safe. Oh, I don't recommend flipping your car backwards. Did he even check his blind spot? And the car's on fire. I definitely don't recommend that. This is one of my recurring nightmares.
Progressive is all about keeping it safe, so bundle your home and auto for 24/7 protection. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Coverage not provided for monster trucks. Not available in all states.
Attention talcum powder users. Have you had ovarian or gynecological cancer? A proposed $8 billion plan will pay those who believe they got sick from using talc products, like Johnson's Baby Powder and Shower to Shower. Johnson & Johnson maintains its products are safe. You have until July 26, 2024 to vote to accept or reject the plan. For more information, visit officialtalclaims.com or call 888-431-4056. Paid for by LLT Management, LLC.
Joining us right now in studio is Nate Orchard and Jake Weber from Advanced Window Products. And Debbie and I, we had the chance to go through your place the other day. And one of the things that just amazed me, shocked and amazed me, was the level of customization of your windows, Jake.
Yeah, really, we manufacture all of the windows. So every window that we make is custom made for a homeowner. So it's if you're wanting to go through and customize like the color, you're wanting a black on the exterior, white on the interior, or let's say you want to have a green, we're able to do any of that for you, from the shapes to the grid patterns, whatever it is you're looking for in your windows.
I want to make sure we give out that phone number because you guys are offering such an amazing offer right now that I want our listeners to be able to take advantage of it.
Yeah, the phone number to call right now is 801-850-9100. Again, 801-850-9100. And you're going to get a hold of Rob. As Nate said in the last segment, he calls himself a world-class athlete, loves himself some pickleball. But get a hold of Rob, and he is a professional. He has done this for years. He's going to be able to help educate you as a homeowner and help you make a decision that is best for you and your home.
Rob plays pickleball? That's good to know. I'm a little mental note there.
Yeah,
but you guys got an incredible Father's Day special, $2,500 off, 10 windows or more. If you call right now, again, 801-850-9100. You'll also receive a $500 gift card to Home Depot, or you can just take $3,000 off the 10 windows or more. Nate, final thought. What if I've already received a bid from somebody else?
Yeah, that's where you give us a call, right? We've been doing this for 38 years. Rob's a wealth of knowledge, but when you have those door knockers or if you have bids from other companies, give us an opportunity to come out. I promise we'll come in at least half the price of what most of those bids are. And knowing that we are a local company, that if something comes down the road, you know who to contact. You're not calling a call center in the middle of nowhere. If with services and things like that. So working
and the
with Advance would be
education
great.
you guys gave us when we were out there and touring your facility I learned so much about windows I never knew.
Yeah, and the reality is if someone buys windows from us, they can come into our shop and see their windows being manufactured. So really, we cut out the middleman. We're going to give you a better quality product for a better price, and you're going to have a lifetime warranty, and we're not going anywhere.
I love that. You build it, you install it, you guarantee it for life. Make sure you take advantage of that Father's Day sale. Again, $2,500 off for 10 windows or more. You're going to get a $500 gift card as well. 801-850-9100 for Advanced Window Products.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, red flag warnings out for wildfire danger in parts of southern Utah. Second, the U.S. Supreme Court has rejected a challenge to the legal approval of a drug widely used for abortion. And third, yesterday's heat caused the pavement to buckle on two different sections of I-15. UDOT had those spots quickly repaired. 82 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
We've been talking about bringing sports to downtown Salt Lake City. Of course, there's been some dust up over how to do it, how to make downtown Salt Lake City revitalized. And the Planning Commission came out last night and said, we don't like the plans. We're not ready for this. It's happening too fast. There are some areas of the plans they probably do like, but there were some concerns over how tall the buildings were going to be in this Smith Entertainment Group pitch. There's also some concerns about how quickly the process is moving. But then here's Jay Evenson of the Deseret News, who is bringing up yet another concern. Will there even be professional sports around with all the gambling that people they're getting involved with?
So incredibly popular. It is so popular, especially with the younger kids. Kids are loving sports gambling, falling in love with it. And Jay, this is a great conversation because I come from an era. My dad played professional baseball for the Cincinnati Reds. His first roommate when he got called up to the big leagues, Pete Rose. Pete Rose was banned from baseball because of gambling. Yeah. And now gambling is this guy gambled, a slap on the wrist. Pete, one of the greatest hitters of all time, kept out of the Hall of Fame because of gambling. And now it's just becoming far more accepted. And this is an absolute sea change for professional sports.
Well, it is. And I think I've mentioned on your show before, I used to work in Las Vegas back in the 1980s. They wouldn't even they wouldn't allow anything. The NFL wouldn't even allow its logos to be used in sports books because they were so worried about this. But now it's not just that you see more gambling, but you can do it on your smartphone. So it's as close as anybody's pocket. And I became concerned about this because in the last couple of weeks, Major League Baseball banned a player from the San Diego Padres, Tucupita Marcano, for life for gambling on $90,000 on games in Major League Baseball. And then we had Jonte Porter from the NBA, who was banned for life just a couple of months ago. The NHL has a player, that Shane Pinto, who just returned from a 6-month suspension for gambling. But the league and Mr. Pinto have not been very forthcoming about what happened or why he was suspended. Then you have this whole deal with Dodgers pitcher Shohei Ohtani and his interpreter stealing money from him to cover his debts. And what really got me, the New York Times ran an op-ed by sports agent Lee Steinberg. And he said, I have represented professional athletes for 50 years, and I have never seen a situation that's more perilous to them and the integrity of sports. And I started thinking, we are about to invest billions of dollars in taxpayer money to revitalize downtown around this new hockey and basketball venue and a potential Major League Baseball stadium. What if it all comes crashing down because we have a huge scandal that calls into question the integrity of the games? If people no longer believe that the players are giving their all, and that it's
they're not
above
fixing
board,
the games.
right? Then you're going to lose the whole sports empire in this country will come crashing down, and taxpayers will be left holding the bag.
Yeah, Jay. Yes, and I don't. If they've caught 3 or 4 in the last few months, how many haven't been caught? Is what I thought when I read your op-ed.
Right.
I mean, we don't know.
No, we don't know, and the sports leagues will say, well, it's because we've legalized it and made it above board that it's easier to catch it now. But the opposite of that is you look at the statistics and see how exponentially sports wagering is growing in this country. And Dave hit it right on the nail on the head. It's the young people, and these young athletes are coming up through a culture where they're gambling on their phones, and all of a sudden you make them players, and the league is saying, well, we have a partnership with FanDuel or with these other groups, and we're making hundreds of millions of dollars as a league, but don't you do this, because if you do this, we're going to kick you out. It's kind of a double standard.
Well, and if you're wondering how lucrative these companies, these sporting companies, the betting companies are, let me just tell you, I'm looking at DraftKings right now, which is one of the popular betting sites, fantasy football, stuff like that. Last year, sales and marketing, $1.2 billion.
Yeah. And
that's just in the marketing. So to give you an idea of how enormous these companies are and how how absolutely staggering these numbers are that people are dumping into gambling right now, it puts into question the very nature of the sport, of whether or not we can trust the outcome.
And there's evidence that these companies are using artificial intelligence to try to prey on people who are problem gamblers. There's a great documentary out there called The Big Gamble. And I know some of your listeners might hesitate because it's produced by Al Jazeera, but it's extremely well done. And it shows how the companies use the algorithms to determine who are obsessive gamblers, and then they reach out and they give them VIP status. They follow one woman who's a single mother who's had a really big gambling problem. She got sideline tickets to an NFL game for her and her son in order to just keep her going, keep it going. And I say in my piece, the governor, the mayor, other leaders in Utah ought to be outraged by this because it's putting at risk huge amounts of public money that are being used to lure these teams here.
Yeah, and the enticement. I don't know how many pro athletes are addicted to gambling. I mean, we know some have had and admitted to having gambling problems or have been caught. We have no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, and the fix could be in. Some of them say, "Oh, well, I didn't do anything. I didn't intentionally strike out," but we don't know.
The whole case with Jonte Porter in the NBA, real quickly, he told bookies that he was going to have a health problem. And in the middle of a game, he told his coach he didn't feel well, and so he was taken out of the game. And they were able to make lots of money off of that bet by you no longer just gamble on the outcome of a game, but on things that happen within the game. And if you can make a bet on Jonte Porter coming out in the first quarter with a health problem, and you can make lots of money off of that. So
wow.
It's very involved and very complicated.
Jay Evenson, thank you so much for joining us, opinion editor of the Deseret News. And I'll tell you, I asked my dad about Pete Rose. Again, a teammate. He loved him. Pete was great to my dad. When they roomed together, he paid for everything. Pete was great. We love Pete. And I asked him, how do you feel about Pete Rose being held out of the Hall of Fame because of gambling? He said, you got to keep him out. He broke the cardinal rule. You challenge the integrity of the game. That's how it was viewed by his own teammate. Yeah. So you cannot question the integrity of the game, and we have to preserve that at all costs. And I absolutely agree with you, Jay. I think sports gambling is the worst thing for the integrity of the game.
Yeah, Jay, great piece. And as always, you can read that at Deseret.com. Thanks so much, Jay Evenson. Straight ahead, Secretary of State Anthony Blinken went to the Middle East to push for a ceasefire deal. Boyd's up next to tell us how that went.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. The heat is melting the snow in southern Utah, and the water level at Lake Powell is rising quickly. KSL News Radio's Michael Commit has more.
Currently, the lake's elevation sits just shy of 3,600 feet, but the runoff could raise that number by as much as 2 feet a day. Park officials recommend that visitors keep their valuables and gear a good distance away from the shoreline, and they're also warning boat drivers to look out for large debris. Now, along with those warnings, officials are still asking lakegoers to follow the same rules as before. Stay hydrated, check road conditions, and despite the deeper water, avoid cliff jumping. Michael Commit, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Congressional Republicans hosted former President Trump at the Capitol today. First time he's been there since the January 6th riots. House Speaker Mike Johnson says Trump brought an extraordinary amount of energy and excitement with his visit, even just a few days after his criminal conviction on charges of falsifying business records in New York. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day, 195 points right now, while the NASDAQ is up, but just by about 4. And our KSL weather. Look for hot weather again today. High around 100. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
I support Rochelle Morris for Salt Lake County Council because she's a collaborative leader.
I support Rochelle Morris for Salt Lake County because she's conservative.
I support Rochelle Morris for County Council because she has the experience and skills to get the job done.
Rochelle Morris will work hard for all of us who call Salt Lake County home.
Hi, I'm Rochelle Morris, and I approve this message because I'm ready to make Salt Lake County work better for all of us. We need leaders on the County Council who will make sure our parks are safe for our families to enjoy. We need innovative leaders who will stop property tax increases and be wise stewards of taxpayer money. I would love to earn your vote in the Republican primary on June 25th. Learn more at voterochellemorris.com. Again, that's voterochellemorris.com.
Paid for by Rochelle Morris for Salt Lake County Council.
You've been working so hard to keep your lawn and garden looking good. Maybe it's time to make your home look incredible with new window frames and double pane glass from Advanced Window Products. If you can imagine it, they can create it at their factory in Salt Lake City. Any style, any color, security enhancements to keep your family safe. All this and factory direct pricing. You're buying local and paying less. So seal up your home and reap the energy savings with Advanced Window Products, where they've been creating windows for 38 years. No subcontractors, they're not resellers. They build the windows, they install the windows, and they guarantee them for life. And right now at their summer special, get an extra $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. They offer 0% financing and even buy now, pay later. Busy season's just hitting. Call now. Advanced Window Products, $2,500 off. But you have to call 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. Or go to advancedwindowsusa.com.
It's a mystery where Old Spice finds its amazing scents like Himalayan sea salt, but I'm thrilled they have because no other body wash exfoliates and moisturizes 24/7 like Old Spice Gentleman's Himalayan sea salt body wash. Now, if only there was a mountain range separating the Indian subcontinent from the Tibetan plateau where I could hide my Old Spice and keep my family from stealing it, my impossibly smooth skin will finally be safe.
Want to keep your gas-powered engines running like new? Stable's proprietary formulas are proven by third-party testing to outperform the competition in keeping fuel fresh, preventing corrosion, and cleaning the entire fuel system. With Stable, you can have confidence you are doing the right thing for your engine's long-term health. Just pour into your gas can or fuel tank, then top off with fresh fuel. At every fill-up or when you store, start with Stable. Available where fuel additives are sold.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
We do have crashes in the final cleanup stages. One is Redwood Road at 9300 South. It's being wrapped up and you're able to get through the area. We also have a traffic light malfunctioning, an accident reported westbound Mountain View corridor at Redwood Road in Lehigh, and an accident again out of traffic on the shoulder and in the final clearing stages eastbound I-80 at I-215's East Belt Junction. Hey, Utah, summer has come alive, all better in a new vehicle from Murdoch Chevrolet. Right now, take up to $10,000 off a new Silverado 1500. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Hot again today with a high near 100. Cooling trend starts tomorrow with highs in the 70s expected next Monday and Tuesday. And right now we're at 88 degrees. It's sunny. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories. On KSL News Radio, Dave and Dujanovic have inside sources.
Yeah, I'm reading this that Secretary Blinken went back to the Middle East. As part of his visit there, he's pushing for a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. Boyd's perking up like, I'm hoping I got that right, Boyd.
You did.
Okay, good. Boyd Matheson of Inside Sources is going to, as he always does at this time each day, he's going to join us and talk about this.
It has changed the way we've talked about this conflict. Again, you go back to October, which is 8 months ago, the way we looked at Israel and Hamas and how we see it today, and we have seen this shift and this change. From the White House specifically. So what is the message that the White House is sending right now?
So this is really interesting. This is the 8th trip of the Secretary of State to the Middle East since October the 7th. So this has clearly been a big focus for the administration. It's one of those things that always happens to presidents. The presidents always want to focus on the domestic agenda, and then stuff happens in the world, and here we are. So this is the 8th visit of the Secretary of State, and so we have another proposal. You remember a couple of weeks ago, President Biden laid out on a Friday afternoon what he said was Israel's latest plan. It was really President Biden's plan based on a lot of things that Israel had already agreed to and Hamas had already agreed to. So that went through. Israel signed on. And so they've been going back and forth in terms of the negotiation. Egypt and Qatar have been the primary negotiators in all of this. And Secretary of State Blinken was with the Qatari Prime Minister yesterday and talked about the fact that Israel's on board with this ceasefire agreement. It's a 3-phase plan. It would bring the hostages home. I think that's everybody's first, last, and always consideration. And then it also starts to build towards what does the day after look like in terms of Gaza. Sadly, Hamas has come back and continues to move the goalposts and say, well, now we want this, or now we don't agree to that, or now you got to change this. And so Secretary of State Blinken was very emphatic yesterday saying, look, the world should be focused on calling Hamas to accept this. Anyone who's shouting ceasefire now, bring the hostages home now, should be shouting at Hamas, agree to this deal now, because it would do just exactly that. And so the secretary really challenged Hamas and said, are you really serious about peace, or are you just going to keep moving the goalposts every time we get close?
And are you really going to be able to return the hostages? This is the concern. You're talking about somewhere around 100, 116 hostages still that are unaccounted for, and we are learning just about every week that some hostages are not alive, and we don't know how many of these hostages are still alive.
Yeah, and so the real question I think that everyone has to get very practical and tactical about is what their motivation is in this, because this is so different. We often conflate Israel and Hamas as being two nations, and they are not. Hamas is a very loosely organized terrorist organization. And so they don't have cities and towns. They don't have a government. And so it's very different negotiating between a terrorist organization and a nation state. The world has been putting pressure on Israel because Israel's a nation. And so you can do sanctions. You can do all kinds of things against a nation. None of that matters to Hamas.
Right.
And so then you have to also look at the hostages for Hamas are everything. Absent the hostages, they're basically done. And they also have to be questioning, can they possibly exist post-settlement in Gaza? And I think the answer is no. And so the Hamas leaders are clearly trying to figure out how do they best leverage and how do they get out so that they can continue to be a terrorist organization and reconstitute themselves somewhere else.
Boyd, I'm just looking up some numbers, and I'm not sure they can be trusted numbers, but when you talk about, this war and this conflict that's been going on since October 7th. That began with a terrorist attack, at a music festival. Tens of thousands of people have died. Tens of thousands. Yeah. We lose track because we lose track.
Yeah.
But it's as many as 35,000. That's from the Hamas-run Ministry of Health. I don't have a way to confirm that, but.
Yeah,
35,000 people.
It's a lot, and I don't think the number is quite that. Most of the international organizations have said those numbers are inflated by a significant number. But even absent that, a lot of innocent Palestinians have died in this atrocities of all of this, and so that's important to keep in mind. There are innocent Palestinians, and everything that we're hearing from Hamas as part of their strategy to turn the world against Israel. Is more civilian casualties. It is part of their game plan. It is part of their strategy. And so, again, we have to recognize the reality that Hamas does not care about the Palestinian people. That's not their goal. That's not their objective is to wipe out Israel. Full stop. That is those are their marching orders. That's the agenda. Using and creating more civilian casualties and death so that the international community continues to turn against Israel is part of the Hamas strategy. And so we have to recognize that that's part of the real atrocities of this whole conflict.
They hide in schools, in hospitals. They store their weapons there. I mean, this is not a nation state. This is a terrorist organization. So from Secretary Blinken's and the White House's messaging and brokering of the deal, how do they support a quote-unquote eradication, that's what Israel wants, of Hamas, when, again, we don't know exactly what that even means.
Yeah, and so I think part of it is crippling Hamas in such a way that they can no longer be a threat to Israel. I think that's the way the administration has been trying to frame it that way. And in a few statements, including from President Biden, he has said that, look, Hamas is no longer capable of carrying out those kinds of attacks against Israel on Israel's soil. I'm not quite sure that's reality in terms of what they can do. They've got an extensive tunnel network all underneath Gaza, places where they can launch missiles from. So I still think there are some things that have to be done in terms of that. But again, you have to go back to what are we negotiating, and on what universe is it okay for there to be hostages? I mean, we have to call that out. Again, a lot of times on protests on college campuses, a lot of these are getting really confused in terms of what are we protesting against. And let's also remember there are American hostages.
Yes.
We know there are still at least 4 Americans that are being held there inside of Gaza. On what planet is that okay for the United States to have American citizens being held hostage by a terrorist organization? And so a lot of it we have to get to a different kind of conversation. Again, I remain hopeful that they're making some progress in all of this. And for the Biden administration and Secretary of State Blinken, I think they've done a good job, as good as you can do in this kind of scenario. This is tough sledding. And the Middle East, of course, is a very combustible place. And you're negotiating with a lot of bad actors that make it really difficult. And so the negotiation thing is a real tricky, delicate dance. And so we'll continue to see how that plays out. But I think the thing we have to keep in mind is, one, what does it mean in terms of those hostages and those families, especially the American citizens? That's got to be first, last, and always, I think, when it comes to the U.S.
And we're learning, especially as the most recent group of hostages were rescued, about the mistreatment.
Yeah.
And it is devastating. The conversation is crucial. Boyd, thank you for bringing it up. And Inside Sources today starts at 1.
Wasn't expecting this to come up at the recent debate for the congressional district. We had the aired live here for Congressional District 3, aired it here live last night on KSL News Radio, and they talked about nuclear power. So what do I know about nuclear power?
The accident occurred here at the 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant, a dozen miles south of Harrisburg. At about 4 o'clock this morning, 2 water pumps that help cool reactor number 2
Let's get into that
shut down.
next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Are you drowning in a sea of papers? Is your desk or kitchen table buried under mountains of old unwanted documents? Great news! The information destruction experts at Shred It are hosting a free community Shred It event. You can shred with the pros this Friday, June 14th from 2 to 7 p.m. and Saturday, June 15th from 2 to 6 p.m. at the John M. Huntsman Center. Here's your chance to securely dispose of all your unwanted, sensitive documents and protect your personal information from falling into the wrong hands. Bring your old tax records, academic records, financial statements, medical bills, and any other documents that you no longer need. Shred It trucks will be on site to destroy them. And the best part, the shredding event is free and open to the public. Mark your calendars for this weekend and gather all those unwanted papers cluttering your space. Don't miss this free community Shred It event brought to you by Shred It. Shred the mess and safeguard your information. Visit shredit.com to learn more about how you can protect your personal information.
Yes, it's hot.
Triple-digit forecasts are catching a few people off guard.
But Utah's waterways are not a cool-down option.
Multiple incidents along the Provo River.
Stay out of the water.
Stay safe, Utah, and stay here for updates on the early and short-lived June heat wave.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
Do you spend all day staring at screens? Whether it's your phone, computer, or television, too much screen time can have a serious impact on your eyes, causing eye strain, nearsightedness, fatigue, and even headaches. Now, protecting your eyes is easier than ever with new Nordics Blueberry Eye Supplements. Specifically formulated to improve eye health, new Nordics Blueberry Supplements not only protect your eyes, but help improve night vision as well as relieve and minimize eye fatigue and damage caused by digital devices. Only New Nordic uses wild Swedish blueberries because of their superior concentration of color pigments. These pigments are vital to eye function, macular health, and your overall vision. New Nordic's Blueberry Eye Supplements are Scandinavia's #1 selling natural eye formulas and have been for over 20 years. They are now available in America. Find them online at Amazon.com or NewNordicUSA.com or in stores at Meijer. Search Blueberry Eye Supplements on Amazon or go to NewNordicUSA.com.
Jim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. I want to tell you about our famous "You Don't Need a Warranty" warranty. That's right. It's a warranty you don't need, but we give it to you anyway. Let me explain. Most warranty problems for siding, gutters, and windows are caused by not installing stuff right in the first place. If you rush the work, cut corners, or use subpar materials, you're just begging for problems later. At RGS Exteriors, we don't tolerate careless workmanship. We slow down, focus on every detail, and use only the best materials. We prevent warranty work by doing the job right in the first place. That's why the 10-year everything guarantee we give you is also known as our "You Don't Need a Warranty" warranty. We absolutely will be there if you need to use it. But honestly, you probably will never have to. Done right the first time. That's the RGS way. For siding, gutters, and windows, call 801-280-3110 or visit us at rgsexteriors.com.
How long have you been dealing with joint pain in, say, a hip or a shoulder or maybe even your back? And how many things have you tried to make it better, and yet it seems like it's getting worse, and now it may even be risking not being able to do the things you love to do in the outdoors as we start to head to summer? May I suggest you look into QC Kinetics? It's the nation's leader in regenerative medicine, and they have lasting joint pain relief for some with no surgery, no drugs, no downtime, and they have arrived in Salt Lake City. So why would you put it off any longer? They have free consultations right now that could get you back to walking, running, hiking, even playing golf, and being able to move again pain-free. Wouldn't it be worth just getting some answers? Their advanced protocols have enabled tens of thousands of patients to reclaim their mobility, and you can find them now in Mill Creek, Provo, and Bountiful. Call QC Kinetics today. 385-766-1987. That's 385-766-1987.
Spend time with the ones you love in the most unique dining experience in Utah. Five Alls Restaurant. 5 stars, 5 courses, full of history and tradition. Open Thursday through Saturday. Visit 5alls.com.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the water level at Lake Powell rising as much as 2 feet a day right now, something tourists have to think about as they plan their visits. Second, Republicans in Congress hosted former President Trump today for the first time since the January 6th riots at the Capitol. Third, Waymo, the company that makes self-driving cars, is recalling all of them for a software update after one crashed into a utility pole. 88 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
When you talk about nuclear power plants, what I hear is...
The accident occurred here at the 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant a dozen miles south of Harrisburg. At about 4 o'clock this morning, 2 water pumps that help cool reactor number 2 shut down. Officials say some 50 to 60,000 gallons of radioactive water escaped into the reactor building.
Yeah, 3 Mile Island.
Penetrated the plant's walls.
Back in 1979, Dave, when I was about 12 years old, that's all we heard about for weeks. That clip was from 1979 from CBS News. So when you talk about nuclear power, and nuclear power plants, I get nervous. But you heard the candidates talking about it last night.
Yes, because I think nuclear power is, for some odd reason, I have my suspicions of why this is the case, is not the solution to our energy crisis in this world. You talk about 3 Mile Island. You still remember it. We make documentaries about it. Do you know how many people died in 3 Mile Island?
I don't remember.
0.
Oh.
So this disaster that that has reverberated for decades, that we've talked about, that we remember, and it sounds so ominous. You remember what happened at 3 Mile Island?
Well, did somebody grow a third eye? I don't know.
No.
I mean,
No, I mean that's.
I don't want to be exposed.
Listen.
I don't want to be living across the street.
Nor do I. So it
comes up last night in the race in the 3rd Congressional District, where there's several candidates. This is a really crowded field. You've got J.R. Byrd, who's the mayor of Roosevelt. Sorry, somebody text in, tell me I can't ever remember how to say that.
Roosevelt, yeah.
Roosevelt. U.S. State Auditor John Dugall. State Senator Mike Kennedy. And entrepreneur Case Lawrence. And also attorney Stuart Pay. And that was one of the questions that came up. Do you support nuclear power?
And that is, yes, I'm comfortable with having a nuclear power plant here in Utah. Look, we have one of the largest uranium deposits in the state and in the nation here in District 3.
I also support nuclear, the traditional form as well as the new form coming out of Wyoming. And yes, I'd be comfortable storing whatever waste.
And nuclear in a safe and effective way that actually keeps our environment clean. I believe in an all of the above energy policy that would include clean nuclear energy.
Nuclear energy is something that I believe something we should have and need to have.
Yeah, that's a lot of nuclear.
A lot of nuclear. But I just pulled up a map, Debbie. I don't know if you can see this. It's from the U.S. Regulatory Commission. They have a map of all the nuclear power plants in America.
They're all in the East Coast.
We don't know where it is. What's the closest nuclear reactor?
I think it might be Arizona.
Exactly.
Palo Verde nuclear power plant, which was built when I was a kid. Yeah.
That's the closest one to Utah.
And we
There's
were
one
scared.
You were scared about it, yeah.
Of course we were. Of course we were. I know so little about nuclear power. What I know, I've learned from fear and watching documentaries about 3 Mile Island.
The movie.
So what did you hear when you heard these candidates in the 3rd Congressional District?
Refreshing.
Really?
Refreshing to hear such a unified commitment to nuclear energy. Because right now, this is the cynic in me, but I think I can make a fair argument to why nuclear hasn't been the solution. Number one, it makes all the sense in the world for Democrats because it's zero carbon emissions. That's a huge win. If you're concerned about climate change and going green, there's nothing that is more effective than nuclear. Democrats should absolutely love this. But this is, again, the cynic in me. Republicans have coal and oil. We've had coal and oil forever, right? That has been the lobby. That's where the power is. And then Democrats, they're like, well, we can't get coal and oil. The Republicans already have there. What can we get? Oh, we can get wind and solar. So that's what the Democrats have. And you look at the party platforms, and it is all about preserving coal-fired plants and miners and supporting them. That's what Republicans say. You talk to a Democrat, all the solutions are wind and solar farms. We're going to build, hundreds of acres of solar farms. Why aren't we talking about nuclear? Oh, because of 3 Mile Island and there's 0 deaths?
Do you ever have one of those coworkers, Dave, in the newsroom who you ask, like, hey, what do you know about nuclear? Keep it simple because I'm not real smart on the issue. And what they do is they send you a 75-page thesis paper from a doctor, a PhD from Stanford. Yeah, that's you. You're that coworker. So Dave ships over to me some, paper that was done by a PhD out of Stanford. Yeah. Mark Brandley, great work. You did actually manage to boil this down to something very simple that I can understand. No new construction permits have been issued for nuclear power since 1979. Now, I don't know that Dave remembered to read the date on this paper. It was published in 2001. But and even back in 2001, no new construction permits had been issued in a couple of decades for nuclear power. I think that speaks to Debbie D's fear in 4th grade when we learn about the meltdown. And then who can forget about Chernobyl? Right. There's that one too.
Yeah, and he speaks about these. He speaks about 3 Mile Island. And part of the disasters, there's 3 big disasters. There's 3 Mile Island, there's Chernobyl, and there's Fukushima over in Japan after the earthquake, the tsunami.
Yes.
Those are the big 3.
And we're earthquake prone here.
Yeah, no question. So, again, 3 Mile Island, the radiation was safely contained just as all the safety precautions were supposed to work. That happened. Only 1 person was injured. Again, no deaths. Chernobyl, they were running pretty fast and loose, right? This is not Western nuclear technology that they were using. This is in Russia, yeah.
Right.
They didn't have the fundamental safety structure that we have in Western plants. So he says, Chernobyl, as awful as it was, it's apples and oranges because they don't have the protections that we have. Fukushima as well. But you compare deaths to the nuclear disasters to what we have in coal mining, that we have, in hydroelectric or any kind of energy generation, we just have not had anything comparable in nuclear. Nuclear accounts for 20% of this nation's energy. It's all over on the East Coast and in the Midwest. Like there's lots of nuclear.
Do they run like lines into the nuclear? How do they?
It's a power plant. It looks
I see.
exactly the same. And basically all a power plant does is it generates heat. You bring in some water, it produces steam. There you go. There's the energy. It's just how are you getting that heat produced? And nuclear energy through the uranium fission, it's just producing a lot of heat. Let me give you just a really quick example of how effective uranium is. If you take a Tootsie Roll size pellet of uranium, a Tootsie Roll, right? Tiny.
Mm-hmm.
It's the equivalent. It can produce as much heat and energy in that Tootsie Roll as an entire truckload, a Ford F-150 of coal. To generate that same amount of heat as a Tootsie Roll of nuclear energy, it would take an entire truck of coal. Like that's how efficient and effective it is. And again, when you're burning fossil fuels, you have all sorts of hydrocarbons and it pollutes. That's not the case with nuclear. You don't have any of that. It's zero emissions.
Thank you, Professor Dave Noriega. That's amazing.
But Republicans love oil and coal, and Democrats love solar and wind.
So let's take live phone calls. 801-575-TALK. I mean, should we still... Do you live in fear of nuclear power, a nuclear power plant in Utah? Or can you get on board with the candidates in Congressional District 3 who were talking about nuclear power and bringing it to Utah last night in the debate?
And that is, yes, I'm comfortable with having a nuclear power plant here in Utah. Look,
801-575-TALK. 801-575-TALK. You going to give a nuclear power plant in Utah a thumbs up or a big no thank you? Next.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. A lot of people in Vineyard experienced internet service outages this morning, and they have been on and off for the past week. Fastel, which services a lot of the homes in that area, confirmed the problem, says they're working to fix it. Customers were told by the company it was due to equipment overheating, among other things. And they were also told that those who call Fastel and ask for it may be given a statement credit for the inconvenience. The baby gorilla at Hogle Zoo now has a name. Ado was born May 30th. That's ADDO. The zoo says his name means King of the Road in the Ga language of Ghana. Ado and his mother Pele are part of a troop of western lowland gorillas at Hogle Zoo. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Bit of a tweak needed for a self-driving car company, and ABC's Sherry Preston has more on why.
Waymo is recalling its entire fleet of self-driving vehicles after one of them struck a telephone pole in Arizona. Its entire fleet isn't exactly huge, though. It's 674 cars, to be exact. There were no passengers in the Waymo vehicle when it hit the pole and no injuries associated with it. Waymo says it's implementing a software update that will help the car better identify poles or pole-like objects.
And your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down 136 points on the day. The NASDAQ is up by about 27. Our KSL weather, just hot. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:32.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the nines, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
When it's hot outside, air conditioners struggle to keep up. Parts are under more stress, and sometimes those parts fail. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and no one helps more homeowners maintain and repair their air conditioners than Any Hour Services. As a matter of fact, last year, over 30,000 homeowners called Any Hour Services for help maintaining and repairing their systems. Any Hour Services has over 100 HVAC technicians to help with everything from maintenance and repair to installing a new system. This summer, there'll be a lot of people told they need to replace their air conditioner, and they'll wonder, do I really need to? If you're told you need to replace your air conditioner and you still have questions, Any Hour Services can give you a second opinion and let you know what options are available. Maybe it just needs a little maintenance or a small repair. Maybe it does need to be replaced, but if you don't feel good about being told you need to replace your air conditioner, don't ignore those feelings. Call Any Hour Services for help with air conditioner maintenance, repair, or to schedule a free second opinion. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Ricky Meese.
We do have an accident called out at 2100 North and 1200 West. If you're traveling Salt Lake County freeways, you're looking at a nice and quiet drive, as well as I-15, a delay-free commute in Davis, Weber, and Utah counties. Get more in 2024 at the Ute Stampede Rodeo, July 10th through 13th. 90 years of family entertainment, carnival, flying cowboys, live music, and extreme bulls, July 10th. Package pricing, visit UteStampedeRodeo.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Hot again today with a high near 100. Then a cooling trend starts tomorrow with highs in the 70s expected next Monday and Tuesday. Right now, 89 degrees and sunny. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Oh, I want Warren to hang on the line. We're asking for live phone calls right now, and our producer, Dave, just put in the group chat that Warren lived close to 3 Mile Island.
The accident occurred here at the 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant, a dozen miles south of Harrisburg.
I wonder if we could take Warren's call first,
about 4 o'clock this morning,
even though he's not first in line on the call list, but I want to talk to him about this, because this is why I have feared bringing a nuclear power plant to a neighborhood near me. But last night, that's exactly what the candidates during the Congressional District 3 debate, were talking about.
And that is, yes, I'm comfortable with having a nuclear power plant here in Utah. Look, we have one of the largest...
And that's refreshing to hear all 5 candidates talk about their support for nuclear. And this isn't, hey, I support nuclear in Idaho or in Wyoming. It's got to be in your backyard. If you're going to support nuclear, you have to say, you can build it amongst my family and friends. And this is a very consistent, unified message coming from these candidates. I think it's refreshing. We don't talk about it enough. And I don't think we realize how effective nuclear power is. It already powers 20% of the United States right now. And these are very old plants that are being put together. But let me give you an idea. If you take a Tootsie Roll size pellet of uranium, it is the equivalent of an entire Ford F-150 chock full, 2,000 pounds of coal. They generate the same amount of heat. That is incredible. And it doesn't have any of the drawbacks as far as climate change and its zero emissions. This is a huge win.
You're starting to win me over. But I do want to talk to Warren. Can we get to line 5 first? Warren, you live close to 3 Mile Island?
I did. I lived close enough that the day that it happened, we were out escorted to our buses. I was in junior high, and asked us to get on the bus and get off where at our house. I had 2 stops. I could walk a mile to my house or wait another half hour and get off at my house. So that day I had to wait the extra half hour to get off. Since then, 3 Mile Island has been destroyed. When I lived there as an adult, I had the highest electricity bill ever, still paying for that accident. It still scares me today. They ran sirens 20 miles from it and tested it about every year, reminding us that the accident had happened. No, I don't want nuclear power just because of that. And yes, 3 Mile Island spent a lot of time trying to educate us teenagers on how safe nuclear power was, and now they don't have a nuclear power plant in 3 Mile Island because it's been torn down.
Thank you for your story,
That's
Warren.
my comment.
No, we
Yeah,
appreciate
I'm
it.
so thankful for that. I have never talked to somebody who lived by it, and you were in junior high at the time, and you're saying the experience is like, I'm done with nuclear power. Don't want to be anywhere near it.
Let's go out to the phone lines again. Jake in Magna. Jake, what do you think? Do we have Jake on line 1? No, we don't have Jake. All right, let's go to Dell and Draper. We got loads of phone calls. Dell, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
All right, what do you think?
I grew up near the National Reactor Testing Site there in southeastern Idaho. In the late 50s, early 60s, I was in school. We had a reactor blow up. Boom. Killed 3 men. All I remember is that my mother worked with the wife of the guy that was stuck to the ceiling by the control rod. Oh, wow. It happens. I'd still take nuclear power over what we're doing now.
I was looking at the numbers of coal miner deaths. Again, we've been, harvesting coal for 200 years in this country, but we've lost 66,000, miners over those 200 years. Tragedies happen. Thank you for your phone call. Who's next on the line?
We got Jake back. Hi, Jake.
Hey, do I call too much?
No, we love having you on the show. So that was just a horrible story we just heard about a death involving a nuclear reactor. What's your take on nuclear power?
I think it's something we should definitely consider. There's ways we can go about.
Say that again?
We lose Jake again? It's not meant to be, Jake. It's not meant to be. Let's go to Keith. Are you for nuclear power? What do you think?
Dave and
Jenna,
I am definitely for it. I used to work for a company that used to make parts for the nuclear power company, and they're more stringent on their qualifications than anything I've ever seen in my life.
I think that's an important part of this. A lot of our nuclear experience right now is fairly old technology. What is being built now, the nuclear facility up in Wyoming, is obviously the latest technology, is much different. So you're saying we've made some progress since the 60s?
Oh, definitely.
Well, thanks.
I definitely think we need to go with it.
Thanks for your phone call, Dave. We got another call over there. Do we go through all the callers? Jake is back. Jake.
Third time's the charm?
Yes, go for it. Yes.
Yeah, so SMRs, I think, are a great way to go about it for modularity. But also, let's look at wind and solar. Wind requires a lot of maintenance. To keep the fans going in the winter, they require defrosting by helicopters and drones. Highly expensive. Technically, the stuff gets replaced very frequently, and there's graveyards of fans just sitting there. With solar, it requires enough days of solar exposure to get enough energy to charge. In Utah, we have less than almost a half of a year of decent days to even do it, 212 days roughly, if there is even semi-decent sun. We have to consider this technology if we want to make it better for the future.
Yeah. You bring up a great point. I'll just boil it down to my own experience, Jake, is that the clouds have ruined many, many days of paddleboarding for me in the last couple of weeks. So, and they roll in the late afternoon, and then they stick around. So I can see where that would be a challenge.
And that is crucial. Reliability is the key. It's why coal hasn't gone away, because you can burn coal at any time, any place. You can burn that coal. With solar and wind, it depends on the weather.
Just kept catching you up to speed. We're talking about nuclear power and building a nuclear power plant. Just the idea of it, which was debated last night during the 3rd Congressional District debate. There are 5 candidates running for the House seat, and they all seem to be on the same plane with this.
And that is, yes, I'm comfortable with having a nuclear power plant here in Utah. Look, we have one of the largest uranium deposits in the state and in the nation here in District 3.
I also support nuclear, the traditional form as well as the new form coming out of
Got more
Wyoming.
phone calls.
And yes, I'd be comfortable.
This has really lit up the phone lines today, Dave.
I think we have Steve. Steve, what do you think?
So I just finished working on some power lines up in the Brigham City area, and they were telling me up there that Brigham City is involved in I don't know. I don't hold all the details, but I know that they're building a small or a new generation power plant up in Idaho, and then it's going to be available, or they're hoping to be available for some of these smaller municipalities.
Yeah, Bill Gates is really behind this, and in Wyoming, it's this nuclear reactor that's being built. The company is TerraPower, and it's these small modular systems that are not these huge conventional nuclear power plants that we're used to seeing. They're smaller. They still generate a ton of energy, but not on the scale that we're used to. So the idea would be, if this works, then can it be replicated elsewhere in the West? We have very little in the West, very little nuclear power in the West. Most of it, 95% of it, is kind of on the East Coast, and bleeds over to about maybe Louisiana and up.
Speaking of debate season, another thing cropped up during last night's debate when candidate in the 3rd Congressional District, John Dougall, said this about Trump's support.
I think it's a problem for our party. This is an individual who I called seditious on January 6th for what took place, the attack on the Capitol, as he sat on his hands and tweeted that his vice president was cowardly, as he tried to further his own clinging to power and overturning that election. That was reprehensible.
We're going to ask John Dougall about that when he calls the show next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
One of the things I love about Renaissance Ranch is they want to treat the entire family. So if you have a family member, a loved one that is struggling with addiction, they realize the best chance for a good outcome is to get the entire family, a support system, involved.
And that's where they offer these great classes. They're online, they're free. So if you know somebody and you're trying to help somebody deal with addiction and cope with their own addiction, we don't want you to get lost in that. And that's why you need to sign up for these free classes. And they're super popular, and they're popular for a reason. It's because they're helping people, with their, making sure that they're not losing themselves in their loved one's addiction.
And so many of these classes are taught from a personal perspective, somebody that has been there. There are classes for spouses, for parents. There's a women's support group, even a couples recovery group.
It's so easy to sign up for these classes. They have been proven, clinically proven for more than 20 years, and they're faith-based. You can always find Renaissance Ranch at renaissanceranch.com. Again, that's renaissanceranch.com.
When I was growing up, Tim, I thought I knew things about food. This food was good for you. This food was not good for you. Mm-hmm. Of course, that all turned out to be completely wrong, which I found out when I got my own nutritionist at Soda Weight Loss. That's SOTA weightloss.com. She is a text away, still to this day, that I can ask her anything. And you get like a whole new education, which is what Avery said.
I feel like you're enrolling in like a school of nutrition with a whole new perspective on what food is and what it does for your body. That kind of makes the biggest difference, is it teaches people about food.
So when you go to sodaweightloss.com, you'll see a button right there. It just says request a nutritionist callback. Click on that button.
And here's the other great thing. You're going to save 15% on the program when you do and start that relationship with that nutritionist who becomes your best friend along the way while you reach your goal weight. Again, go to sodaweightloss.com. It's spelled SOTA, and it stands for State of the
Art.
Progressive presents 10 things on a plumber's to-do list that are harder than getting a small business insurance quote. Waking up for 5 a.m. plumbing disasters, finding out why water is pouring from the ceiling, replacing a pipe in a home from the 1800s, then dealing with invoices or your awkward apprentice or that really weird smell, and then there's breathing and eating and, of course, clogs. But the easiest thing on any small business owner's to-do list? Seeing if you could save on the business insurance that's right for you. Get a quote in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliated and third-party insurers.
Every business faces challenges, but complicated, expensive, and uncertain shipping shouldn't be one of them. With USPS Ground Advantage from the United States Postal Service, you can avoid all the noise. No more unexpected surcharges, hidden fees, or complex rate structures. It's just easy, cost-effective, and dependable shipping. Tune your business's frequency to success and turn shipping to your advantage. Learn how at USPS.com/advantage. USPS Ground Advantage. Simple, affordable, reliable.
Spring is a great time to elevate the look of your home and landscape by adding beautiful flowers to the yard and patio. And pros and hobbyists alike know that the best flowers are grown by Olson's Greenhouse, right here in the mountain valleys of Utah. This is Brian with Olson's Greenhouse, and my family has been growing flowers with love and care for over 80 years. That's 4 generations of a local, family-run Utah business. So whether you're looking to add a pop of color to the back patio or a beautiful flower bed to the front landscape, flowers from Olson's Greenhouse are the perfect finishing touch to make your yard a joy to relax in. Stop by OGG.com or find us on Instagram at Olson's Greenhouse Gardens, where you'll find inspiring photos to get you going on your flower gardening journey. You can also find a local retailer carrying plants from Olson's Greenhouse. That's OGG.com for Olson's Greenhouse Gardens, where you can dream big, dream bold, and dream in color with beautiful plants and flowers from Olson's Greenhouse.
Healthcare with human kindness is here. It's at Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Together, we have a common purpose, partnering with you in health and healing using powerful medicine, powerful technology, and the greatest power of all, human kindness. You'll know it when you see it, because human kindness is in every care site and in every caregiver. Common Spirit Health. Hello, human kindness.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Over the last 3 years, Larry H. Miller Real Estate has expanded its real estate development footprint. Company President Brad Holmes tells us more about the tremendous growth the company is experiencing and the generational impact the projects will have on Utah.
As the real estate platform of the Larry H. Miller Company, we use real estate development and smart growth principles to fulfill Larry H. Miller Company's mission to enrich lives. Whether we're building a single-family home or a master plan community, a commercial office tower, or mixed-use business districts, like downtown Daybreak and the Power District, we treat every real estate project as an opportunity to make a real lasting positive impact. In Utah, we're blessed with some of the most beautiful land on earth. As stewards of this land, it's our responsibility to be thoughtful with how we treat it. As a team, we harness the power of real estate development to steward projects whose long-term vision enriches the lives of those who live there. Therefore, we have to take a values-led approach to development. Our work isn't just transactional, it's transformational.
In an industry that's better known for focusing on short-term profit, Larry H. Miller's real estate takes a long-term view of placemaking and building value, guided by 4 values: integrity, stewardship, hard work, and service. Learn more about their transformational real estate developments and job opportunities at lhmre.com. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
Attention Wasatch Front businesses and property managers. GoPave Utah is a full-service parking lot paving, repair, and maintenance company servicing the Wasatch Front. Contact GoPave Utah today. GoPaveUtah.com.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, internet connections have been spotty in the Vineyard area. The provider, Fastel, says they're working on it. Second, the 2-week-old baby gorilla at Hogle Zoo now has a name. He's called Addo. And third, there have been a couple of moose attacks in Winter Park, Colorado this week. Right now, 89 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Your voice, your vote, 2024. Special coverage on KSL News Radio.
Candidate in the 3rd Congressional District, John Dougal, live on the line with us. He's currently the state auditor. We often refer to him as Frugal Dougal. But it was this moment at last night's debate. Of course, there are several candidates vying to replace current Representative John Curtis, who's now running for Senate. It was this comment that caught Dave's attention, and it came from John Dougal.
I think it's a problem for our party. This is an individual who I called seditious on January 6th for what took place, the attack on the Capitol, as he sat on his hands and tweeted that his vice president was cowardly, as he tried to further his own clinging to power and overturning that election. That was reprehensible.
That was State Auditor John Dougal. He's candidate, right? He wasn't speaking as the state auditor there, but speaking about former President Donald Trump. And in this campaign, he has kind of declared himself the anti-MAGA candidate. And he joins us right now. And, John, you do realize you're running for the Republican primary, right?
Yes, I'm running for the heart and soul and trying to save the Republican Party from itself.
Okay, so you've decided to go head first, dive right into the deep end of the pool. Why are you so passionate about, I'm hesitant to say anti-Trump because that sounds so extreme. But why have you been so critical?
Well, I look back, and as I said, each of us, think back to January 6th, the attack on the Capitol, the assault on police officers, the disruption of the constitutional process of counting the electoral votes, that horror that we all witnessed. We should never forget that. All while President Trump desperately tried to cling to power to further his election, as he's sitting there on his hands making phone calls to congressmen and women to try and save and stall the vote so he could stay in power. And tweeting, like I said, about his vice president who did his constitutional duty that day. And so we look, and the Republican Party has been captured by this MAGA fever. And that's a problem. I'm a Reagan Republican. I believe our party stands for principles, not populism. And that's what we need to get back to. We used to be the party of big ideas. Sadly, not anymore. But big ideas is what we need now more than ever. Because big ideas is what's going to help us unify, not only as a party, but as a nation, to try and solve the critical problems that we're facing. And right now, I think we deserve a better agenda than vengeance and retribution.
We're speaking live right now to John Dougall, who's running for the House seat that's open in the 3rd Congressional District. This is what he said last night about President Trump during a debate.
I think it's a problem for our party. This is an individual who I called seditious on January 6th for what took place, the attack on the Capitol, as he sat on his hands and tweeted that his vice president was cowardly. As he tried to.
And John, since January 6th, a lot more has happened. Former President Trump has a lot of criminal issues that he's dealing with right now after being convicted on 34 counts in the state of New York. What do you have to say about the court cases that he has been, and now he's a convicted felon?
Well, from my perspective, I'm running for federal office, and those are state issues, and that's up to folks in the state of New York to figure out for themselves.
But one of them is not. He is also facing federal. He's also facing federal charges as well.
Well, if you want to talk about the issues of classified documents, I think that's something that needs to go to trial. I am very concerned when you take state secrets and you treat them as cavalierly. And I don't care if you're former President Trump, if you're President Biden, or go down a laundry list of other folks that have had issues with classified documents. These are the most sensitive secrets of our nation. They should not be treated so cavalierly.
You say that the Republican...
But getting back, Dave, you had a question. Those were the comments I made on January 6th, 2021. So this is not a campaign position. This is where I was way back when. And I have even more information today that validates what I said. And how do you walk that back? When you look at the facts and the data, I know we have some people in the Republican Party that want to deny that there was even an attack on the Capitol. They want to pretend like it was a Sunday picnic, utterly peaceful. Yet we saw what took place. We have folks that want to deny the election, and yet over 60 lawsuits and no proof that shows that there was fraud that would have overturned the election. They have failed to deliver on that time and time again. And the Republican Party needs to get its act together and stop being beholden to one individual and get back to the core principles of limited government, fiscal responsibility, and individual liberty.
But I'm looking at a recent poll. It has Utah
Deseret News
saying that Donald Trump gets 57% of the vote here in Utah. How do you overcome that kind of support?
Well, at the end of the day, the key thing I'm campaigning for is where we need to get back to as a Republican Party and where we need to get our nation. We've got serious issues when it comes to fiscal responsibility. We've talked about this, the amount of debt that's out there and how it's ballooning. We've got serious issues we need to face as a nation and not be distracted by antics of what I call the MAGA antics, but it's those that want to not solve the serious problems in Congress and want to avoid the serious problems when it comes to either party and president. We've got two problems. I mean, President Biden wants to ignore the law. President Trump tried to overturn an election. Unfortunately, President Obama weaponized the government against a political opponent. We got serious problems in Washington, D.C.
He's Congressional District 3's candidate, one of 5 that will be on the Republican primary, John Dougal. John Frugal Dougal. Thank you so much for joining us, John.
What's your take, Dave, on taking that position?
Yeah, I love the boldness of it. I maybe question the wisdom of it because there is a lot of support for Donald Trump, and to be that the anti-MAGA candidate is a very bold move.
He's not trying to flip positions from where he stood years ago,
which I love. I love the fact that and we know John fairly well as a state auditor. We've interviewed him a million times. He is as consistent as the rising sun. So I appreciate that. It will be very interesting. Again, you have to get out of the primary. I think this is a very popular take, or could be a very popular take in a general election. Whether it makes it out of a Republican primary, that's the big question.
Straight ahead, Amy Kobabe in today for Maria Chaleos with all your day's news. And I'll tell you, the only thing y'all wanted to talk to me about yesterday when I was out and about was how hot it is outside. It's too hot, and she's going to have an update on the heat straight ahead.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon, 12 o'clock. KSL News time is 12 o'clock. This is Utah's Noon News. I'm Amy Kobabe, filling in for Maria Chaleos. KSL's top story this hour. We will have another hot day here in Utah. Temperatures could reach 100 degrees, and there's a heat advisory in place until tomorrow morning. The heat isn't the only concern this summer. Ozone levels are also increasing. KSL News Radio's Andrew Gordon brings us more.
Ozone is a chemical reaction caused by heat and is a major contributing factor to the decreasing air quality. Dr. Brian Mensch with Utah Physicians for a Healthy Environment says that ozone can be just as toxic as particulate matter that we see in winter inversions here in Utah. But you can't just go up into the mountains to avoid the problem. Ozone can be found at higher elevations as well. Dr. Mensch recommends avoiding exercising and using indoor barbecues during the peak of the afternoon and evening.
You can also take public transit, carpool, and work from home if possible to help improve the air. As many flock to Lake Powell during the summer heat, we're learning of an accidental release of 40,000 acre-feet from the lake last spring. And officials say they aren't putting it back. KSL News Radio's Adam Small has the story.
This happened as the Bureau of Reclamation was trying to put back water previously borrowed from Flaming Gorge and Blue Mesa reservoirs that helped boost Lake Powell and Lake Mead at the height of the drought. Utah's Colorado River Commissioner Gene Shawcroft tells me the crazy winter we got last year made it a lot harder for officials to balance where all that water was going, but under the circumstances, he says,
that's very good